Chapter 500. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan now had something to do, and that was to set up a bank. Originally, they should have set up a few pawnshops before setting up a bank. They had to do this bit by bit. However, the two of them didn't want to set up a pawnshop at this time. If they didn't want to set up a pawnshop, they had to deliberately make other people's things seem very cheap. This was a bit of a shock to the two of them. They weren't going to do that, so they could only set up a bank. The bank's function wasn't to give out loans, at least that wasn't the purpose. It was to help other people keep their money. At the same time, it was responsible for redeeming the change back and forth. However, at this time, it could be considered as having some pocket money. In the process of helping people keep their money, they could use the money to do other things. When people came to ask for it, they could give it to them. In other words, the more money they kept, the more stable the money they could take out when the time came. When the income and expenditure reached a certain level, it would be balanced. The people next to them didn't know what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy with. In any case, the two of them were always busy when they were idle. They always looked like they had endless work to do. If one looked carefully at Zhang Wang clan's stomach, they would find that it was a little bigger, but it wasn't that obvious. Zhang Zhong didn't have much to do now, so he stayed at home all day to accompany her. While they were busy, the fleet from Beijing finally arrived at their destination. The people on these ships were already here for the second time, so they weren't as worried as they were at the beginning. There were also some ships behind them. These ships were also big ships with sails on them. It was very difficult for them to follow behind the fleet. The Zhang family's fleet couldn't slow down to take care of them. They still went as fast as they could, especially when they encountered a headwind. The Yellow River Shipping Company's people behind them had to chase after them with all their might every time they were pulled apart. The only way was to use the oars. The rowers on the boat were exhausted. When they were on the Yellow River, they thought that their boat was the fastest boat. Now they realized that the boats with wheels on both sides and special sails were much faster than theirs. Especially since they had never seen what the sea was like. Being blown by the sea breeze and the waves made them very worried. They were afraid that their boat wouldn't be able to withstand the waves and would capsize. Fortunately, they finally persevered all the way. When they saw the dock in front of them, everyone standing on the deck cheered, as if they had conquered this place. The Zhang family's fleet didn't care about the boats behind them at all. When they stopped at the dock, they began to unload. This time, they brought a lot of things which could be used for the local people's New Year. If they didn't hurry up, Zhang Zhong wouldn't be able to deliver things in time. The dock was big enough for the Zhang family's fleet to occupy all the docks. They didn't need to wait anymore. The Yellow River Shipping Company's people weren't in a hurry. They just wanted to take a good look at the situation here. Even the rowers below ran to the deck. There were many sceneries that they had never seen before. It was very novel, especially this big dock. They really didn't know what was used to build the dock. The cement had just been transported to the capital. Of course, the people outside didn't know about it. The emperor planned to use the cement to build something for himself first. When he felt that it was enough, he would use it to build the city wall and the streets of Chang. Many commoners were called over to help unload the things. They now knew that during the new year, the good officials would give them some things to let them have a good new year. A portion of these things were on the ship, so they all worked as if they didn't care about their lives. If it wasn't for someone stopping them in time, it would have been easy for a few people to die from exhaustion. After these ships finished unloading their goods, the Yellow River Shipping Company's ships also approached. They didn't find anyone to help them unload their goods. Instead, they brought their own people. They set up a gangplank and began to carry the leftovers of the fur. As soon as they were done, someone came over to collect the money. The Yellow River Shipping Company had sent 16 boats this time, which was all of their big boats. It was impossible to find such a big boat on the Yellow River. How could Zhang Xiaobao let 16 boats stop at the dock for nothing? They had to pay some money. It was not free to build the dock. They spent a lot of money. The person who came said to the people who got off the boat, 16 boats. According to the rules here, one boat costs 10 strings of money. You can pay first and then stop the boat. If you don't have money, you can write a receipt first and pay after the goods are sold. But at that time you have to pay more. How are you going to pay? Money. Why do we need to pay to stop the boat? I've never heard of such a thing. We didn't pay when we stopped the boat in Beijing. Why do you ask for money when we come here? The person who came down didn't carry anything. At first glance, it was obvious that he was in charge. When he heard someone ask for money, he was very unhappy. It seemed that he was not going to pay. The person in charge of the dock on the Zhang family's side didn't care about the other party's attitude. This money was a must. He said to the person, "When you are there, you can find a place to stop the boat, so generally, no one will ask you for money. Moreover, when you arrive at the dock, there will be people working there to pick you up. They will give some money to the dock. Many people are even hired by the dock. Also, you will eat there, and the shops on the dock will also get money. The most important thing is that the dock there is dedicated to welcoming guests from all over. You can go to some of the docks on the other side of the Yangtze River and see if they accept your money. Also, can the docks in other places compare to ours? We spent a lot of money to build this dock. That's not right. One boat is 10 strings of money. 16 boats is 160 strings of money. You are too good at making money. Make it cheaper. How about one boat is 10 strings of money? If that's the case, we will pay. If not, we will find a place where we can also stop the boat. At most, we will take out a small boat and transport it to the shore bit by bit." The person in charge of the Yellow River Shipping Company still wanted to negotiate the price, so he directly reduced it to 10%. He thought that as long as he said that he would not stop at the dock, the other party would be afraid of him. Unfortunately, he met the Zhang family. The Zhang family really didn't care about his little money. He shook his head and said, "No, it's 10 strings of money. If you want to stop, stop here. If you don't want to stop, then do as you please. In the future, when a boat comes, we will ask first. We won't let you occupy this place like this. Stop somewhere else. When there is a strong wind or something, if you want to come again, the money will have to be doubled. Do you really want to charge so much money? Okay, then we will stop on the water outside and use a small boat to transport it bit by bit. I don't believe that we can't transport it. We came here specifically to help you. When the time comes, don't think that you can get any goods from us. If you don't want to sell it, you can sell it to other places at a higher price. How about it? Consider it. Do you want to stop?" The person in charge of the Yellow River Shipping Company still didn't want to give up. If the boat was stopped at the dock, it would be much more stable. If it was stopped at other places, he would always feel worried. Yes, one boat is 10 strings of money. The Zhang family still insisted. In fact, 10 strings of money was not a lot for the entire Yellow River Shipping Company. Compared to other places, it was much more. No matter what, they would not accept it. Otherwise, they would have to take out 160 strings of money. How many things could 160 strings of money buy? Just thinking about it made their hearts ache. Having reached this point, the two of them were not willing to compromise. The people who came down once again boarded the ship. The ship slowly left the dock until it passed the perimeter of the dock. The anchor was cast down to fix the ship, and a few small boats were released. The large ship continued to deliver goods to the shore, one small boat after another. At this time, the Zhang family did not say anything more. If they really wanted to make things difficult for the other party, it would be easy to tell them that as long as they came up, they would have to pay. However, this matter could not be done. The Zhang family's dock was really 10 strings of money for a big boat. Because it was built well, small boats were much cheaper. The Zhang family did not make things difficult for the people from the Yellow River Shipping Company, but the people from the Yellow River Shipping Company did not think so. This time, when the people who came over heard the words of the person in charge who went down just now, they were all very angry. They really felt that the people here were bullying them. Humph! Isn't it just stopping the boat? They actually want so much money. Fine, after we ship the goods up, we will not sell them and make them jealous. The son of the owner of the Yellow River Shipping Company's big boat company stood on the deck and said angrily. The others nodded one after another, agreeing with the son's words. There were 16 boats. Because they had to use small boats to send the goods down bit by bit, it took a lot of time. Until the sky turned dark, they still had not transferred all the goods. The people on the boat ate while complaining about the attitude of the people here. They did not know what the person from the Zhang family said just now. It was all the thoughts of the person in charge who came back. Because of this, the owners of the various ships didn't intend to be nice to the people here. Each and every one of them was talking about selling the leftovers of these furs from other places. They still believed that these things would be worth a lot of money. Who knew that there was not a lack of fur here, especially with the Sherwan Mountains behind. This was also something that Zhang Xiaobao did not consider when he came here. So he made the fur into sofas and some furniture. Otherwise, how could it be like this? At night, the people of the Yellow River Shipping Company were still working hard to transport the goods. When they were on the boat, they did not dare to casually light the torches. This was fur and it was really easy to start a fire. They could only make some torches on the shore to light up the boat. At the same time, there were also some owners who came ashore under the protection of the guards. They happened to meet some local people. These people were actually here to fish for prawns at night. They were all children, so that they could sell the prawns to subsidize their families. Among the owners of the Yellow River Boat Line, a man surnamed Sun saw the kids swimming to a reef. He curiously stopped a kid who hadn't gone over yet and asked him, "What are you doing here? Where did you get the clothes on you? How much is it? Is your family wealthier than mine? Also, how many people here can't wear clothes?" The child who was stopped looked at this person and was a little confused. He didn't know why this person was asking so many questions. However, looking at the expression on this person's face, he didn't seem to be so evil. He answered, "I got these clothes by working, and so did the other people's clothes. I don't know how much they cost, as no one sells them here. My family isn't rich, but I can still have some spare money to spare after I eat. The people here have clothes to wear, and the fabric is similar to mine. No one can't wear clothes, and everyone's family is like mine. They have a small building to live in, and a little spare money." What the child said was true, but it was different in the ears of the people around him. When they came here, they had already asked people and knew that the people here lived very hard lives. Especially when they passed by several other states, they saw the people who worked at the seaside. Some of them did not even have a piece of clothing, and were naked from top to bottom. Now this child actually said that everyone had clothes to wear, and everyone had spare money. How was this possible? The owner surnamed Sun naturally thought so. He looked at the child in front of him and said, "Child, it's not good to lie. Come, tell me the truth, and I will give you candy." As he spoke, he put his hand into his sleeve. In fact, there was no candy in his sleeve at all. They didn't bring any candy this time. However, he was going to take out 2 copper coins to buy candy for the child. It was the same. In his opinion, the child should change his words, but he did not expect the child to still insist and say, "I didn't lie to you. It's like this. When you came here, did you see that other people were not like this and think that we have a very bad life? In fact, our life is very good because we have a good official. We don't lack anything. Forget it. If you don't believe me, go and ask others. I'm going over." After the child finished speaking, he directly took off his clothes and jumped into the water. After a while, he swam to the reef. It was not easy to fish for prawns on the reef. If one was not careful, the hook would be caught. When that time came, the line would be broken. These people on the shore were still thinking about the child's words. Even if they did not believe it, at this time, they had to choose to believe it once. Just once, they would send people to other places to check. Was that Zhang Zhong really as powerful as others said? In such a short time, he actually made the people here live a good life and let them live a happy life? At this time, one of the owners said to Sun Dongjia, "I don't understand now. If these children's lives are really so good, why do they still come out at night to fish for prawns? How much can these prawns be sold for? Anyway, the prawns on the other side of the Yellow River can't be sold at a high price. If they don't live a good life, look at those children's clothes. They are wearing new clothes. Aren't they afraid that these clothes will be accidentally damaged on the reef? Who would be willing to do that? So, I guess these children were deliberately sent here by someone with bad intentions. They sent us here so that we can't see the depth of this place. They want to buy the fur we brought here at a low price. Do you think so?" After hearing what he said, The others also felt that it was reasonable and nodded one after another. Even Boss Sun was like this, but he still couldn't be so sure. He said to this person, "If it's really like what the child said, then it's good. At least we can sell these things. Selling to the rich is better than selling to the poor, right? Okay, now let's immediately send people to other places to check, especially the places where there are people living. Remember, don't split up. Each team needs 5 people. Hold a torch. If there is any danger, run back quickly. What if the people here are very poor? It won't be good if they rob my people. Go quickly and come back quickly. Don't go too far. Just go and take a look." With his words, the people who were tired from working split up and began to take torches to other places to check. In this way, the owners wouldn't wander around. If they encountered any danger, who knew if there was anyone here who could save them? After waiting for these people to leave, Sun Dongjia said to the other owners, "When you do things here, you must be careful, especially that Zhang Zhong. If you meet him, try to be polite. Otherwise, he will easily find a reason to make you stay here. This dock is his family's. Look at those ships. If they want to make us stay, we can't outrun them at all. If we can't outrun them at sea, it's even more useless on land. They are more familiar with this place than we are. Besides, when we came here, we didn't bring any horses. Remember, once you meet the Zhang family, try not to offend them. A little impatience will spoil the big plan." His words were very sincere, but not all of these owners thought the same. They thought more about how they came here to help Zhang Zhong. Without the goods on their ships, Zhang Zhong's side would be very difficult. It was this thought that had always existed in their hearts. Zhang Zhong didn't know what others were thinking when they came here. He still didn't know how many ships came here. He had a lot of things to do. After the things on the ships were taken down, he had to send these things to the local people and let them have a good new year, regardless of whether it was night or not. Zhang Zhong sat in the car and swayed towards the farthest county. It would take him a few days to walk, and this was under the condition that the car was moving at a very fast speed. Behind the car he was sitting in was a long line. These lines were all trucks that were transporting goods, and on them were things that Zhang Zhong wanted to send to others. Along the way, they would occasionally meet a few people who were rushing through the night. When these people saw Zhang Zhong's car, they would always stop and respectfully greet him. At the same time, they also waited for Zhang Zhong to send them things. They had already heard that there were a lot of things this year that would allow them to eat and drink well during the new year, until the 15th. As for what these things were, they didn't know. Each and every one of them could only imagine and guess. Zhang Zhong didn't lack the time to greet people. Whenever he met someone, he would say a few words with a kind smile. Along the way, the sky was getting darker and darker. Zhang Zhong unknowingly fell asleep. The owners of the docks were still waiting. They wanted to know what this place was like. Before long, someone came back from the docks. When he arrived, he said to everyone, "I found them. The people here have big houses and big courtyards. Those houses are very beautiful. When I passed by, I heard the sound of a duck. I went to the back to take a look. I saw a lot of pigs being raised by them. Each one of them looked very good. But now is not the time to kill them for meat. I reckon that summer will be enough." Occasionally, people who couldn't sleep would sit outside and chat. I went to take a look. They were wearing very good clothes. That's all. Oh, there's one more thing. They didn't build their houses directly on the ground. Instead, they built them on the ground. I don't know why they did that. Anyway, I don't understand. When this person was talking, he seemed very excited. He had a reason to be excited. What he heard and saw along the way was that the people by the seaside lived a very hard life. He didn't expect that this Luzhou was different from other places. He was excited, but the bosses were shocked. If they didn't know that this person wouldn't lie to them, they would really think that this person was lying. How was that possible? They passed by Lianzhou on their way here, and they were very clear about the situation there. Why was there such a big gap between the two neighboring states? This question was worth pondering. Sun Dongjia looked at the people around him and said, "Now you know. Zhang Zhong is very capable. Don't underestimate him. Otherwise, the ones who will suffer in the end will be us. If we can avoid offending him, we will not offend him. Even if he asks for these goods from us, as long as we can get on his good side, I am willing. As for what you think, I don't care. If something happens, don't blame me for not warning you in advance. Chapter 501. There was a vast sea route, and no one knew where the clouds were. The breeze blew the drizzle, and the huge waves fell on the reef. The evening moon ebbed, and the morning sun rose from the horizon. A rainbow crossed several shores, and soared among the gulls and herons. The owners of the Yellow River Shipping Company didn't sleep well all night. When they woke up in the morning, they saw an amazing picture scroll. The sun was drizzling gently. They had seen many sceneries on the way here by boat, but compared to those sceneries, it was definitely not as shocking as the one in front of them. It was drizzling here, and there was a rainbow whose route was unknown over there. The moon that hadn't disappeared yet was about to fall into the sea. The seabirds that rose early in the morning shuttled back and forth in the rain and fog. The foam brought by the waves hitting the beach seemed to be endless. The carriages transporting goods for the people who were still working gradually disappeared from sight. The children who didn't have to do anything for the time being gathered together, humming a tune that the masters couldn't hear, and jumping with fishing poles and prawn cages, they ran to the shore. It was impossible to overlap with a place that had suffered a disaster not too long ago. How could it be the land of exile that many people talked about? It was clearly a paradise. No, it was even more shocking than a paradise. Last night they received some news. That was, not only could the people have houses to live in, there were also many schools, and even a place called the nursing home. It could be said that the farmers had their own fields, the residents had their own houses, the elderly had their own care, and the children had their own education. There was nothing that couldn't be done here. It's prosperous. Zhang Zhong and the Zhang family of Sanshui are really capable. They deserve to be the people who pushed Zhongxian to Shangxian and combined several counties into a province. No wonder the imperial court is so ambiguous to the Zhang family. All the impeachment memorials against Zhang Zhong were suppressed. The Zhang family can stabilize this area. I've decided. Today I'll ask to see Zhang Zhong. What's wrong with giving the goods I brought to him for free? Sun Dongjia stood alone at the bow of the ship, looking at the scenery in front of him and the brightly colored clothes on the children as he muttered to himself. As the biggest force in the Yellow River Shipping Company, he also had his own sources of information. He knew how many people didn't like the Zhang family and used all kinds of channels to impeach Zhang Zhong. From time to time, someone would send a report, but these reports were like a stone sinking into the sea, without the slightest ripple. People who were impeached in court would immediately change the topic. The emperor simply ignored them. When the impeachment report reached the secretariat, there was no news. Anyone with a bit of foresight was protecting the Zhang family, protecting Zhang Zhong, this ridiculously young fourth-ranked top scorer. Lian province was also affected by the disaster. However, Pan province and Lei province were not affected by the disaster. Throughout their journey, they had never seen anything like Lu Zhou. How did Zhang Zhong do this? Looking at those children, each and every one of them had rosy cheeks and chubby little arms. One could tell how their lives were like. If this continued, it seemed that Lu Zhou would not be considered to be sent to Lingnan in the future. Otherwise, those who were sent to Lingnan would be overjoyed. Whoever was sent to this place would enjoy a good life. There were wide roads, fields, boats out at sea, and trees and flowers on both sides of the roads. The breeze was gentle, the waves were gentle, the sand was warm, the sound of birds chirping, the sun was setting, the fishing boats were singing, the smoke was rising in spirals, the children were playing happily, and the sound of conches was heard. What land of exile? It was clearly a paradise on earth. It was a waste of talent. If Zhang Zhong was a little older, he would not be just a provincial governor. Who asked him to be so young? In less than a year, he had endured the disaster and built the desolate land into such a prosperous place. What if there was no disaster? What if he was given more time? With this ability, it was no wonder that so many people were jealous of him. It was also no wonder that so many people wanted to protect him. If he had subordinates who could do this, he would also send them out to do the most difficult things. Unfortunately, if his subordinates had such ability, they would not stay under him. Sun Dongjia stood at the bow of the boat and sighed with emotion. Someone who had also woken up came over and stood beside Sun Dongjia. He looked at the children and said, "They are really bold. Aren't they afraid that we will catch them?" Sun Dongjia sneered. "Catch them? Why don't you try? Someone will take over your ship company. Have you arranged the next person?" The person who spoke was also the owner of a ship company. Together, they were called the Yellow River Shipping Company. Usually they had their own ship companies. After all, the Yellow River was too big and too long. No ship company dared to say that they controlled all of it. Does Zhang Zhong dare to make a move? My ship company pays more than 1,000 strings of coins a year in tax. Will the imperial court not care? It is easy to deal with me, but if one of them is dealt with, we agreed that the other ship companies on the Yellow River will help. Then the imperial court will lose more than just 1,000 strings of coins. The person who came later was still a little unconvinced. He thought that if the entire ship company worked together, they would be able to firmly suppress Zhang Zhong. Sun Dongjia still looked at the children playing and said, "Catch one and see. If you have the ability, kill one. For example, throw him off the boat, and say that he wanted to let the children on the boat to play and accidentally fell to his death. See if Zhang Zhong will let you go back alive. It just so happens that we can test Zhang Zhong's bottom line. Is he going to take my life for the sake of an ordinary child? I don't believe it." The person's voice became louder. "That's because you don't know how much Zhang Zhong likes the children. Or rather, his family and the people behind him like the children. Your information collection is too poor. Don't you know about the hospital in Huayuan County? What's the hospital? Actually, it's nothing. If the children are sick, they don't have to wait in line. They can go through another passage. The other passage is open 24 hours a day. The 4 doctors take turns to see the patients. The doctors and apprentices are not allowed to touch them. They can only watch. The children don't have to pay for the consultation or medicine. If they need to stay there for treatment, they don't have to pay for their meals. There are fruits all year round. Then who built the hospital? Who has the final say? From this, you can see the Zhang family's attitude towards the children. Look at the children's clothes. The younger the child is, the better the material and the more beautiful it is. Take a closer look. The youngest girl was only 2 years old. What was she wearing on her head? The hair clip sold by the Zhang family is not made of ordinary stones. It's made of jade, Lantian jade. The Zhang family and Wang family's roots are in the production area. Where do you think the jade came from? Why is this hair clip on the children's heads? They haven't swum to the reef yet. Look around the boat and see if there's a rock that can hold the boat down. Throw a small piece over there. If you hit someone, we'll know what the consequences are." Sun Dongjia did not believe that these people on the boat would dare to touch Lu Zhou's children. He deliberately provoked the owner. He only knew that Zhang Zhong or the Zhang family liked the children. He did not know that the one who liked the children was the young master of the Zhang family, Zhang Xiaobao. If someone really beat the children to death, not to mention the person who did it, even the people on the boat would not be spared. When Zhang Xiaobao dealt with them, he would ask, "Why didn't you stop me when you were on the boat? If you didn't stop me, you would be an accomplice. If you can do it to the children, why can't I do it to the adults?" Haha, I'm just kidding. How can you beat such cute children? You can't even catch them. It's better to give them something good to eat. What are they doing? Aren't they going to swim over? The owner of the boat explained while waving his hand. He was afraid that someone would tell the Zhang family about this. What if they thought that he had such an idea? He happened to see a few older children surrounding the girl that Sun Dongjia mentioned just now. They were blowing something hard. So he changed the topic and asked. Sun Dongjia didn't know what it meant. He could only watch as the children surrounded by them giggled. Curious, he waited motionlessly, wanting to see what these children were going to do. It did not take long for those older children to blow up the things in their hands. They tied them up with a rope and put it on the children. Then they took the children into the water and swam toward the reef. Oh, it's just a pig blowing bubble or some animal blowing bubble. They are not stupid. They are afraid that they can't take care of the children. Once they put it on, they won't be afraid of sinking. The owner said with disdain. In fact, he was thinking of getting more pigs to blow bubbles in the future. That way, they would not have to worry about falling into the water, especially when there was a storm. Although everyone here knew how to swim, they would not be able to summon their chi if there was a storm. What Sun Dongjia saw was something else. This is not a matter of blowing bubbles. It is the relationship between the local people. For a child to be able to do such a thing, it is usually taught by the adults. They cannot be a family. For them to be able to say such things, it is the elder brothers and sisters who take care of the younger sister. In other words, if one offended a commoner in this place, they would offend all the commoners in Luzhou. If one of the 10,000 commoners took a piece of flesh from one's body, one would be reduced to a skeleton. When Luzhou first learned about this place, there were mountain tribesmen and small tribes. They were unfamiliar with each other, and were wary of each other. Now that Luzhou saw a child blowing bubbles, it was obvious that he was a mountain tribesman. This means that after Zhang Zhong came here, the mountain people can live well with the local people. When all the people are working hard for one thing, that's the scariest moment. At this moment, a few boat owners came from behind the two of them. When they saw the group of children swimming in the sea, they did not know what to say. At the same time, they no longer had the special sense of superiority that they had in this place. They finally understood. When they came here, they thought that this place would be poor, and that a little thing would be able to move the people here. However, they did not expect, or were unwilling to think, that the provincial governor of this place was not any less knowledgeable than them. In fact, in terms of knowledge, he was more knowledgeable than them. With such a person in charge, even the people from the capital could not show any superiority, let alone the people from the Yellow River. Whether it was knowledge, identity, status, or wealth, they could not compare with Zhang Zhong, the provincial governor. They should do their job honestly. Otherwise, it would be easy for the local people to dislike them. Not to mention the merchants from the Yellow River. Even the officials from the capital could not do anything about it. The local people did not care whether they were from the capital or not. They only knew that Lu Zhou was the provincial governor. Zhang Zhong knew about the situation in the capital, but would Zhang Zhong think highly of them just because they were lucky enough to pass by the capital? Dream on. He could have been an official in the capital, but he did not. Did he really care about the people from the capital? The owners of the Yellow River boat line had come with a sense of superiority when they knew about the capital city. However, when they arrived, they suddenly found that their sense of superiority had been torn to pieces by the other party. The children did not know what the people on the ships were thinking, and they did not care about the people from the Yellow River Shipping Company. They just played as they should as long as they paid attention to their own safety. How could the people who lived by the sea not know how to swim? Especially when there were two rivers and those tributary rivers, the children would jump into the water and swim for a while when they had nothing to do. If it were not for the fact that the waves were too strong, even a 2-year-old girl who was protected could swim over by herself. Now, all of Luzhou's citizens had to learn how to swim. They had to swim as well as they could so that they could last as long as possible. This was to prevent another flood from happening. The children did not think too much about other things. They just wanted to get some fish and prawns to exchange for some pocket money, and buy something they liked, such as the cloth dolls. These cute dolls that were about the same height as them were sold at a very low price. They only needed to pay 15 copper coins to get one. The girls liked them the most, including the 2-year-old girl. Even if she could not speak clearly, when she saw those cloth dolls, she hoped to get one. She used her limited vocabulary to express her wish to the other big brothers and big sisters. Therefore, these children wanted to satisfy the little sisters' needs first. They only wanted to achieve their goal, and they did not know how many people were worried about them. From the moment they entered the water, the people at the dock had been watching them. They were all very good swimmers. As long as they saw the children in a drowning posture, they would immediately come to the rescue. Among them, there were even 4 members of the Vigorous Seedling Protection Team who were guarding here. Only now did they know that the so-called Vigorous Seedling Protection Team was not protecting the rice seedlings in the field at all, but protecting the children. When the children were doing their own things, they would only watch from the side. Only when there was danger would they come to the rescue. Many people did not understand this kind of thinking. Why didn't they just protect the children when they were playing? Why did they only come to the rescue when there was danger? It was like boiling hot water. Although they knew that the children might be scalded, they did not stop them. Instead, they let the children try. Only Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan understood that children could not always be placed in the cradle. If that was really the case, it would be like what happened more than 100 years ago, which made people look down on China. Both of them learned about what happened more than 100 years ago from their own channels. That was the competition between the children of Japan and China on the grassland. It was survival in the wild. At that time, China sent out all the children of high-ranking officials and rich businessmen, but the result was a crushing defeat. Those people could do other things, but they were definitely not suitable for survival in the wild. According to Zhang Xiaobao, if some children from the orphanage were sent out at that time, they could let the Japanese know what it meant to be strong. Even if they sent out children from the countryside, it would be the same. In a competition on the grassland, they sent out the children of the herdsmen. Why would they still need to carry backpacks and bring food? Therefore, the two of them did not want to raise some children who could not do anything. They planned to cultivate the children's independence, self-improvement, and self-esteem from a young age. They would let the children fight for themselves and understand this society. The adults would only hide and watch. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also learned about the arrival of the people from the Yellow River Shipping Company. The two of them did not care about these ships at all. It was really whimsical to think that they would do fur trading here. The two of them were now thinking about the attitude of the Yellow River Shipping Company. If the attitude of the people from the Yellow River Shipping Company was better, then Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan decided to let them suffer a big loss. Then, they would come up with a cooperation plan when they were depressed. If their attitude was not good, then they would let them taste some benefits first. The final result was naturally needless to say. Xiaobao, what can we cooperate with the Yellow River Shipping Company? Even without them, we can still take over the transportation on the other side of the Yellow River. Wang Wan still did not know what kind of cooperation they could have with the Yellow River Shipping Company. It seemed that they did not need the people from the Yellow River Shipping Company, especially since they had already bought a lot of ships there. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan and said helplessly, "You really should have interned in some business groups when you entered the special second department. Your family should have that kind of business, right? The Yellow River Shipping Company is not important. What is important is the estuary of the Yellow River. What is that place? How many countries are there? We can't jump from one place to another all of a sudden. We don't want to go there next. If there was no Yellow River Shipping Company, then we would have wasted a lot of time. We will slowly grow up. Some things can be skipped at once, but some things need to be done step by step. Since we don't have so much energy to care about the estuary, why not let others go there? The country does not belong to the two of us. If we can let others go there, then we should let them get some benefits. The estuary of the Yellow River is our next step. Now we just need to take over Qinzhou Bay. That's it. When the time comes, as long as the other coastal areas are not idiots, they can learn from us and develop bit by bit." "Oh, I know that too. Your plans are too perfect, making people forget a lot of things. On one hand, you say that this country isn't yours, but on the other hand, you're constantly influencing this country. Do you think I'm to blame for this?" Wang Wan was clearly in the wrong, but she still wanted to argue. If it was in the past, she would definitely not do this. Who asked Zhang Xiaobao to follow one plan after another? She couldn't help but rely on him. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan and knew what was going on. He immediately said, "Let's not talk about this first. Let's talk about the construction here. Especially after the new year, what should we do? Should we let the people have their own fields, or should we let them do things together like now?" Wang Wan was just saying. She couldn't blame others for her mistakes. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's question, she thought for a moment and said, "You'll be in charge of this. If you can let the people still do things according to your ideas after your father leaves, then continue to work together. If you think that the new officials will affect your ideas, then naturally, you have to understand the people's fields now. At this time, the disaster is over, and the people don't have any other ideas. Besides, your father is here. No matter what the decision is, the people won't oppose it. I don't care about this. I need to train soldiers. Now there are more than 36,000 people. I need to train at least 4,000 soldiers. Originally, in this era, we didn't send troops overseas. We only sent troops to Japan for a period of time. But who asked you to come here? It's fine if you come here. You can just stay here. Everything is fine, but you have to go to other places to get some things. It's easy to just get food crops, but you still want to go to other places to get minerals. How can there not be conflicts? If there is a conflict, can the operation of the economy be solved? In the case of military force, it is like this. However, some people always want to challenge some bottom lines. How can it be done without an army? I'm helping you to plunder the economy. Thank me. No, I've decided to give up. I won't go to other places to get things. If you want to train the army, then say your own things. Why do you still want to help me? I didn't graduate from military command. I can't care so much. Zhang Xiaobao quickly denied. He looked at Wang Wan and felt that she had learned bad things. How could she know that this should be a political calculation? This is not good, not good. Wang Wan laughed. Xiaobao, you have to be gentlemanly. You learned so many things in prison. How can you not know military command? No, I really don't. That kind of person won't be locked in the prison I can go to. What I learned is the worst. It's easy to change identities. If you want to enter a prison with so many soldiers, you don't even need to think about it. I learned shooting training when I went abroad. I didn't learn anything about military command from them. At that time, I thought that those things were too far away for me. Zhang Xiaobao really didn't learn any military command knowledge in the prison he went to. He only learned some simple fighting skills from a few retired soldiers. He was far from those who really knew how to fight. He had never met special forces in those prisons. Well, even if it's for me, will you support me? You can't let me stay by your side like a secretary, right? Seeing Zhang Xiaobao deny, Wang Wan said another reason. I support you. You can do whatever you want, but you have to think about it. You are still young. Don't expose your identity. It's best to teach others and let others fulfill your ideas. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have the slightest resistance in this aspect. He didn't know about other women, but for Wang Wan, letting her always do a kind of work that she was not suitable for was a kind of suppression to her. Zhang Xiaobao never thought of suppressing Wang Wan. The two people complemented each other. Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao was still the original Zhang Xiaobao. He didn't change because of some of the environment here. She was very happy and said, "Don't worry, it won't cause any trouble. Huzi and the others are almost done learning now. When the time comes, let them stand at the front." The two people reached an agreement after a while of bickering. Wang Wan finally began to really play to her strengths. Although there were many different methods of war at that time, these methods were not directly derived. They were things that evolved bit by bit according to ancient war. Even if the equipment was different, some of the ideas of war were still the same. This was the so-called no change is far from the center. After she came here, she also worked hard to learn the war methods here. With many years of experience and her willingness to learn, she had already learned some things about war here. She didn't directly deny those military formations. No matter when, there would always be formations. Even the war she fought at that time was nothing more than a change in the formation. It was more complex and more diverse. Even the Special Forces assault was similar to some of the assault teams in the war here. Airplanes had their formations, tanks had their formations, and warships had their formations. It was just that the carriers were different, so the formations were different. Then the current formations could also be adjusted with her knowledge. Moreover, the current formations were easier to understand. Compared to what she learned at that time, Wang Wan was absolutely sure that the changes in formations here were too simple. This was based on the weapons. There were too few types of weapons in use now. When commanding, one only needed to know the advantages and disadvantages of a certain type of weapon. It was much worse than what she learned at that time. When she learned it, the cooperation between different types of soldiers could tire people to death. Now there was no need for that. She could just do what she needed. At this time, what she needed to do was to cultivate the discipline of the soldiers, their physical strength, and so on. Once done, they could become a powerful army. In terms of various terrains, she specially designed new formations, such as the Mandarin duck formation that would appear in the future and so on. Now that everything was in place, all she had to do was wait for the soldiers she could train. Based on the ratio of population, she had about 1/10 of them. Of course, this ratio was not fixed. She could not say that if there were 100,000 people here, she would have 10,000 soldiers. Then, if the Great Tang had 1 billion people, would she have 100 million soldiers? Obviously, that was not possible. Let's do it during the Spring Festival. After the Spring Festival, you can start conscripting soldiers. Now is not the time to use your own money to buy soldiers. Even if there are people in some places who do this, we should still use the current method to transfer soldiers. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan's eager expression and said, "Yes, I think so too. But in terms of the actual operation, you can use a different method. Normally, the equipment for my soldiers here is provided by the provincial government, and the equipment for the provincial government is provided by the imperial court. Then the imperial court can provide less equipment, and I don't know when the equipment will be shipped over. Then, it will be provided by the provincial government. Does your father have equipment?" With the small number of people here, he didn't even assign any military officers. It would be strange if he could find equipment. You will pay for the weapons and armor. I will find someone to secretly make them. You will also be in charge of the uniforms and food. Enough. You don't need to say any more. I understand. As long as it's related to the army, I will take care of it, including the money for pension. You can train less for 1,000. At most for 1,000. The others still need to be involved in construction. If you send too many people, I won't be able to do anything. Zhang Xiaobao didn't wait for Wang Wan to finish speaking before he understood what she meant. This was no different from what the Tang Dynasty did in the past few years. When the imperial court couldn't afford to raise an army, the last few Jidushi would have to raise them themselves. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been so quick to rebel. Wang Wan also knew that Zhang Xiaobao didn't lack the money to raise soldiers. What he lacked was manpower. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's restrictions, she nodded and said, "Okay, I will listen to you in this aspect. I will not recruit more than 4,000 soldiers from my province. But we have to say that the army is the army. If there is a disaster here, we can mobilize, but we don't care about farming." "You don't need to care. You can slowly complete your idea. I hope you can understand the law of war here. Sometimes, the quality of a general is very important. For example, when it comes to a one-on-one battle, don't let such a person not appear." Wait, what did you say just now? Not recruit from your province? Don't tell me you want to recruit from other provinces? Zhang Xiaobao agreed. But as he spoke, he thought of the meaning in Wang Wan's words. It didn't seem to be that simple. Wang Wan chuckled and said, "You heard wrong. Don't worry, I won't recruit people from the surrounding provinces. It's not easy for them either. 4,000 people are enough for me. Yes, that's enough. No matter what the situation on the battlefield is, no matter how many people participate in the battle, 4,000 people are enough to change something at a critical time." Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to care too much about Wang Wan's matters. After all, the two of them were no longer children. Both of them needed to have their own careers. In addition to this military method, Wang Wan also had a side business, which was to make some clothes and other things, including cosmetics that would appear in the future. When Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao reached an agreement, she finally changed from her previous steadiness and rushed out of the room happily, shouting loudly. Zhang Xiaobao sat on a chair and listened to Wang Wan's voice outside. He shook his head helplessly. He really doubted whether Wang Wan could manage an army well. According to Wang Wan's rank when she graduated from the military academy, it seemed that she couldn't manage so many people. It was very likely that she would be a minor officer with a deputy position. But since she had agreed, then let her try. She would be better than some of the current generals here, especially in terms of tactics. At that time, she had studied tactics for many years. While everyone else had things to do, Chao Hui and the other two also found things to do. The three of them were still shouldering the mission of the Tang, governor of Ning. They thought about it for a while and discussed it together several times. In the end, they finally decided to give up on the idea of using others to scout for information. The people sent by Zhang Zhong were already monitoring the surroundings of their house. They thought that the people in their house should also be in the same situation. At this time, if they wanted to get useful information, they would only send one person out, and that person would be caught. There was no need to rely on luck at all. In the end, the three of them discussed and came up with a solution. The three of them took the initiative to look for Zhang Zhong, hoping that he could arrange for them to do something. Then, they would slowly infiltrate here, until there was hope that they could get the cement recipe. The first one to look for Zhang Zhong was Chao Hui. He was in charge of probing to see if it would work. Zhang Zhong was still busy with the new year. Chao Hui chased after him on his horse. When Zhang Zhong arrived at a county, he saw him. Seeing that Zhang Zhong was there directing people to move things down one by one, Chao Hui was not in a hurry. He just watched from the side and waited for Zhang Zhong to finish his work. Then he came closer and said with a smile, "Lord Zhang, I'm here to see if there's anything I can do. After all, I can already do something. Now that I've changed, I want to help the local people do something practical. I don't know if Sir can give me such a chance." Chao Hui's words were very sincere. If an ordinary person didn't understand, they would really be deceived by him. Zhang Zhong actually didn't understand him very well, but this had no effect on how he did things. At home, his son and daughter-in-law had already mentioned several methods that Chao Hui would take. At this time, when he heard Chao Hui's words, Zhang Zhong immediately thought of a possibility, so he said to Chao Hui according to what they discussed at that time, "Oh, Magistrate Chao, have you thought it through? You know what to do?" "Yes, I've thought it through. I was wrong in the past. I shouldn't have put the people in such a low position. I've decided now. I'll do more for the people and make their lives better. I hope you'll grant me my wish." When Chao Hui heard Zhang Zhong's words, his heart became happy. It seemed that there was a door. As long as there was something to do, he would be able to gain Zhang Zhong's trust little by little. Zhang Zhong's expression was still the same. There was a trace of doubt in his eyes. He hesitated and said, "In that case, I'll give you something to do. Do you know that it's almost the new year?" I know. Rest assured, sir, as long as you give this matter to me, I'll do it well." When Chao Hui heard Zhang Zhong mention the new year, he immediately stopped worrying. Wasn't it just organizing the new year? It was simple, so he quickly agreed. "Good, since you have this determination, then I'll give it to you. The new year is simple. The main thing is that after the new year, it's time to plant some things. You'll be responsible for." "Responsible for planting things? Okay, I can do this well." Chao Hui realized that Run Baqian didn't want him to organize the new year. Planting things was also fine. When the time came, he just had to stay by the field and didn't need to do anything. Zhang Zhong shook his head. "It's not farming. There will be people in charge of farming. That's before farming. In this field, if there is no fertilizer, then good things won't grow. You'll be responsible for fertilizing. Get some feces from various places, whether it's human or animal, and then put it in the field. Also, remember to ferment some of the stalks. If you put them in directly, it's easy to burn the seeds or seedlings. That's it. I believe you can do it well. Are there any other questions?" No, sir, rest assured. I will definitely do this matter well. I'll organize people to arrange it." Chao Hui stuttered. He didn't expect that in the end, he would be assigned such a job. When he thought about dealing with feces all day during the new year, he felt very uncomfortable in his stomach and wanted to vomit. Zhang Zhong didn't care about what Chao Hui thought and continued. "Composting is not as simple as you think. Have you never composted in this place before? Don't worry, I'll send someone from my family to teach you. You have to learn carefully. First of all, you have to learn how to manage others better. When the time comes, the smell may be a little bad. Just bear with it. I hope that at that time, you can stand at the front. Don't be afraid of hardship and don't be afraid of fatigue. The smell of feces is a little bad, but it's essential for growing crops. You have to pay attention to it. Can you do it? Yes, if others can do it, then I can do it. I'll do it better than others. Sir, don't worry, leave the feces matter to me. I don't feel uncomfortable at all. I don't feel uncomfortable. Chow Hurui's eyes were red because of his retching, but he still insisted. Well, then I'm relieved. After the new year, I'll naturally look for you. If others can be like you, then it'll be good. Zhang Zhong laughed and said to Chow Hurui. He had thought of this method a long time ago. He just wanted to see how these people would do. Chow Hurui wanted to die now. He really didn't know what to say. Was it so easy to make feces? He would be suffocated to death. Especially Zhang Zhong, he had to learn from others. He really didn't know how to endure this. As long as he thought about feces, he had a feeling of wanting to vomit. Seeing that Zhang Zhong was going to continue to the next place, he quickly said, Sir, I have one more thing to say. In fact, I'm not the only one who is willing to do this. Fan Jianxi and Jiang Huanshi also have the same idea. I don't know if you can give the two of them a chance, and let them follow me to contribute to the farming. When Chow Hurui said this, he thought in his heart, brothers, I'm sorry. I can't always be the only one who has bad luck, right? There has to be someone to accompany me. Zhang Zhong laughed secretly, nodded to Chow Hurui and said, They didn't come to me, so I naturally can't ask them to do things directly. It's better to wait for them to have the same idea as you, then let them come. What do you think? Okay, sir, then I'll go back. Sir, don't worry. In fact, the two of them had this idea a few days ago. As long as I tell them about it, they will agree. Sir, I'll take my leave first. Chow Hurui's purpose was finally achieved. He happily said to Zhang Zhong, and was about to leave. Chapter 502. The night was cold, the sea of stars was calm, and the crescent moon hung high in the sky. It was the 29th of December, one day before the new year, but many people were destined to be unable to sleep tonight. The people of Luzhou were waiting for the last day of the new year to arrive. They were looking forward to it, but they were also a little nervous. This new year was different from the past. The people had a new home and a new life. They hoped that the new year would come soon. At that time, they would have to say goodbye to some things and welcome some new things. The people of the Yellow River Shipping Company had not seen Zhang Zhong yet, but they were not in a hurry. Everything would have to wait until after the new year. This new year had a different feeling for them, especially for the boatmen on the ships. They had never spent the new year elsewhere. Some of them were homesick, while others were in a special mood. Those owners might be used to wandering outside, especially those who had developed their family business bit by bit. When they were young, they ran businesses even during the new year in order to earn more money. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not really care where they spent the new year. In the past, the two of them often could not spend the new year with their families. Wang Wan naturally had to work overtime when she had to. As for Zhang Xiaobao, he did not have a family even if he wanted to spend the new year with his family. Many things for the new year had been arranged long ago. Now he just had to look at the arrangements for Ulay County. He could not care about other places. Another spring has come, and we are 1 year older. Well, it's a nominal age. I wonder how the villagers in Sanshui County will spend this year. It's 30, and it's the darkest time. Perhaps they will light up many torches? Wang Wan looked at the plan for the new year, and suddenly thought of Sanshui County. The two of them had deep feelings for that place. Fortunately, they were still spending the new year with their family. Otherwise, the two of them would feel lonely. Who cares how they spend the new year? Judging from the news sent over last time, they are developing well. They won't lack anything for the new year. Forget it, don't think about it. After being reminded by Wang Wan, Zhang Xiaobao also thought of the matter over there. Although he said not to think about it, his eyes were looking at the crescent moon in the sky. As if using it as a mirror, he wanted to see the silhouettes of the villagers. Wang Wan knew that Zhang Xiaobao did not want to make a happy new year uncomfortable. She nodded and said, Well, I don't want to think about it. I don't know how the people in the surrounding prefectures spend their new year. I think they lack a lot of things. Forget it, I don't want to think about it. We have to go on. Why are you mentioning other people again? Think positively. After the new year, the people can continue to work hard. This is the home that they built with their own hands. The new year will have a new atmosphere. Perhaps we will still be here at this time next year, or perhaps we will have left this place and gone somewhere else. Zhang Xiaobao really did not know how the imperial court would arrange for his father's place. When everything was almost done, it was time for his father to leave. Thinking of leaving, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan again, "After the new year, we will focus on the people we need to focus on. After the new year, we'll have to shift the focus of our arrangements to the future development of the Chamber of Commerce and the docks. We still need to do the basic construction, but we need to focus on something. Otherwise, when the basic construction here is done, we won't have the things ready by the time the imperial court is ready to change people. That will be terrible. Yes, we need to focus on the things here first. Continue the construction of the seawall, and slow down the other aspects." Wang Wan also thought of this point. Until now there was a lot of goods overstocked, but without the money to sell them, those goods could not be considered as recouping the investment of the past few days. The people's wages were paid by themselves. The money for food was paid by themselves. The money for the houses was also paid by themselves. Although those goods were actually earned back, they were not sold after all. When the two of them thought of money, they began to plan for next year. First, they had to let the people help them do the work here. Fortunately, after the disaster, the rent tax would not be collected until the second half of next year. Before that, as long as the imperial court did not see the new rent tax, they would not be in a hurry to get rid of Zhangzhong. In fact, the people in the provinces around Luzhou were doing very well now. After all, the officials in their provinces wanted to learn from Zhangzhong. They exploited the officials in their provinces through various means, forcing these merchants to compromise with the various chambers of commerce on Luzhou's side. This really worked. As long as the merchants used Luzhou's chamber of commerce as an excuse, the local officials could not do anything to them. They all knew who was behind Luzhou's chamber of commerce. Fortunately, they had gotten a lot of benefits from the previous action. Even if it was not easy to take money from the merchants in the future, they had earned enough this time. In the name of doing things for the people, they did take out a small part of the money to give to the people, but they kept most of the money for themselves. A small portion was for those who stayed behind. To the commoners, this small portion was not small. At the very least, it was enough for them to live comfortably for a month. This made them look forward to the arrival of the new year even more, so that they could forget about the old year and start a new life. The ones who were really unhappy were Chao Hui and his two companions. After Chao Hui's introduction, the other two would be in charge of the fertilizer next year with him. It was not that they could not stand the smell. At most, they could just endure it for a while. The main thing was that they had not achieved their goal. They only hoped that after the matter of the fertilizer was settled, Zhangzhong would put them in an important position. At that time, they would be able to obtain the cement recipe. Although they said that they didn't owe Zhangzhong money, they still owed money to the Ning family in Qinzhou. That was always a problem. Most of the people of the Yellow River Shipping Company had left the ship, leaving only a few guards on the ship. The rest of the people had gone to the provincial capital. Usually this place was not very busy, so there would be fewer people on the streets. But now most of the people did not have to do anything. They were busy preparing for the new year. As such, the night of the 29th of December became lively. Those who were doing business did not plan to sleep at night. They wanted to sell something properly. Needless to say, there really were people who lived nearby who came out at night to take a stroll. No matter what, it was still winter. Coupled with the low temperature at night, the commoners wore more clothes when they came out. With the wages they had earned these days, they wanted to buy some things that the officials did not give out and decorate their homes properly. There were also many people sitting in the small restaurant. They were all waiting for the new year to come. They could not sleep at all, so they could only find a few familiar people to drink. These people were naturally the men and their families. They sat around a table and drank the wine that they were usually reluctant to buy. They talked about the events of the past year. The owners of the Yellow River Shipping Company could not sleep either. They chose to live in the Sea Clouds restaurant. Although it was called a restaurant, It was actually a comprehensive place. At this time, between the clouds and the water was very quiet. It seemed that there were no other guests except for the people of the Yellow River Shipping Company. It was not an important traffic road in the capital, nor was it a political, economic, and cultural center. Usually, the businessmen who could come here would go home early to prepare for the new year, who would stay here until next year. Because of this, the sea and clouds seemed to have quieted down. The owners of the Yellow River boat line couldn't possibly chat with the boatmen openly. Since they knew these people, they didn't have much to say. Seeing that the street below was brightly lit, they couldn't help but suggest that they go to the street to take a look. A group of people walked out of the Sea Cloud House and strolled around on this night before the 30th. Listening to the noise in the pub and looking at the local people who were also too excited to sleep, they suddenly felt like they were strolling around the night market in Chang'an. From time to time, they would hear a voice praising Zhang Zhong from somewhere. They were already used to hearing this. Sun Dongjia, what are you looking at? When the group of people walked slowly, one of the owners saw Sun Dongjia stopping to look from time to time and asked, I'm looking at whether they usually use those furs or not. If they use a lot, it means that they are not short of furs here. Then the leftovers we brought can be sold at a slightly lower price. If they don't use furs here at all, then it's hard to say. Sun Dongjia looked and answered the owner's question. The people around them also heard and were stunned. The smart ones immediately understood. If it was the former situation, it meant that the people here still use furs. Although the price of those leftovers would be much lower, there were still people who used them. If it was the latter, there were only two possibilities. First, the people here liked to use furs, but they did not, so the goods they brought were valuable. Second, no one here wanted to use furs at all. This was what they were most afraid of. If that was the case, they could not sell the goods they brought. Even if they gave them to others for free, no one would want to buy them. As the group of people thought this, their eyes began to imitate Boss Sun's actions. They carefully stared at the side, wanting to know if the local people liked to use fur. As they looked and walked, the group of people stopped. The reason was that they saw a shop. The shop's door was also open. Occasionally, people would go in and look around, but they might not necessarily buy anything. Facing the door, there was a counter, and there was a person who should be a clerk. At this time, the clerk was holding his chin with both hands, and his eyes were narrowed. He looked like he could fall asleep at any time. Let's go in and take a look. One of the owners saw a shop that specialized in selling furs and called out to the others. They walked in first, and the others followed behind. When they arrived at the shop, they did not expect the clerk to be happy to welcome them. The clerk still narrowed his eyes, but he did not continue to pay attention to them after glancing at them a few times. The group of people looked in the shop. The two owners saw a complete wolf skin at the same time. They looked at each other and one of them asked the clerk, "How much is this skin?" 20 copper coins. The clerk Wei looked up and saw the person who asked the question pointing at the wolf skin. He listlessly replied, 20 copper coins? How can it be so cheap? The person who asked the question couldn't believe it. If they bought it in the capital, it would cost at least 30 copper coins, but the current price was a bit too much for them to bear. Any merchant like them would be very depressed when they heard this price. Either they would be cheaper so that they could bring it back to the capital to sell, or they would be more expensive so that the fur scraps on the ship could be sold for a good price. But now this price was neither high nor low, so they couldn't transport it back. The profit was too little. At the same time, the furs on the ship couldn't be sold at a good price. Clerk, let me ask you something. Do many people come to your shop to buy furs? At this time, the other owner could only pin his hopes on the people here being interested in furs. It's okay. It's not a lot, but it's not a little either. Some people sell it back home to make something. After all, there are many toolkits. A layer of skin is more convenient. The clerk didn't care why these people asked such questions, and answered while dozing off. The other owners nodded one after another, indicating that they understood. At this time, Sun Dongjia suddenly asked, "Clerk, how much do you sell the fish glue here?" "We don't sell fish glue here. If you want to buy it, continue to walk east. After walking 100 steps, you will see the grocery store. They sell fish glue there. When the shop assistant saw that they were only asking but not buying, he simply stopped staring at them. He thought that these people with decent clothes wouldn't steal the furs in the shop. After saying that, he buried his head in his arms that were resting on the counter, and turned his head to the side, only looking at the entrance. Seeing the clerk like this, they didn't continue to ask. One by one, they walked out of the store and headed to the place that the clerk had just mentioned. How much is the fish glue? Finally, they found the place. A group of people walked in and looked around. They saw a jar on the side with a piece of paper on it with the words fish glue written on it. One person asked, That big jar costs 300 coins. It will be cheaper if you buy more. There were also 2 clerks here. There was one more person than the previous place. It seemed that the store was too busy, so they found an extra clerk. Hearing the clerk's answer, the owners were stunned. 1,300 coins for a jar of fish glue? It was too expensive. The clerk said that it was a big jar, but this jar could only hold about 10 caddies of fish glue. Didn't that mean that 1 caddy of fish glue would cost 130 coins? Expensive. It wasn't just expensive, it was unbearably expensive. The person who asked the question just now continued. Didn't you say that it's very convenient to fish because it's near here? Of course, the fish glue should be cheaper. Otherwise, who would buy it? The clerk obviously didn't expect that these people would ask such a question. Seeing that they asked, he could only answer. It's true that you can fish, but it's not that easy to boil fish glue. How much glue can be made from a fish's body? This price is not expensive. If you don't believe me, you can go to other places and see how much other places are selling for. At this point, the owners knew that they were in trouble. It didn't matter if the fur was cheaper, but the fish glue was too expensive. They couldn't bear it. If they followed the original plan, not only would they not make money, they would also lose a lot of money. One by one, the owners were stunned at the moment, including owner Sunday. When they came, they dreamed of making a fortune. They only heard that the fish here were easy to catch, and that there were so many that they couldn't even count them. They never thought that the fish gelatin here would be so expensive. The good mood of waiting for the new year disappeared in an instant, leaving only blankness. What should we do? What should we do? Do we have to ship the leftovers of the fur back? I don't think anyone will buy it even if we ship it back. One of the owners looked at the jar of fish glue and muttered to himself. His grumbling made those who didn't know what to do even more anxious. It was as if the sky was falling down on them. We'll talk about it when we get back. Let's go somewhere else first. Sun Dongjia was the biggest owner. At this time he was still calm. Seeing that the others' eyes were not right, he quickly slapped them one by one to wake them up. The group also knew that it was useless to sigh now. They only hoped that the shop assistant was lying to them. They would know when they went somewhere else. With expectations in their hearts, they left the grocery store and continued to stroll on the street. Actually, it was not correct to say that they were strolling. They wanted to find another grocery store to ask, so they quickened their steps and looked around. When they saw that it was not a grocery store, they immediately walked away. After midnight, everyone returned to the Sea Cloud Pavilion. Their complexions were very unsightly. They entered a room and looked at each other. No one spoke. What are you afraid of? Isn't it just a little different from the plan? At most, we can change the method. Think about it, don't worry. Sun Dongjia saw that everyone was listless and comforted them. Method? What method is there? The plan was written clearly and there were some countermeasures, but those methods all required the price of the fish glue to be lowered first. Who came up with those ideas? They can't be used at all? Ha! Who came up with that idea? At this time, one of the owners was about to collapse. There was no other way. Before he came, he had bought a lot of leftovers of the fur at a high price. Who would have thought that they couldn't do according to the plan at all? Chapter 503. The owners of the Yellow River Shipping Company welcomed the new year under such circumstances. They did not dare to tell their subordinates about this matter. They were afraid that if their subordinates lost their morale, they might not be able to return this time. On the night of New Year's Eve, Zhang Zhong did not let his family celebrate with the local people like he did in the past. The main reason was that there were 2 pregnant women at home. If something happened, it would be too late for regrets. Therefore, he went out at night to have fun with the people. This year he did not go from house to visit those who were not living well. In fact, there was no need for him to visit them. Those people were basically the same. The only place that was worth visiting was the nursing home. The old men and women in the nursing home were doing well. They were usually well nourished, and there was always a doctor at home. This year, there was no problem that they could not survive. The sky was filled with fireworks, and the sound of firecrackers could be heard all over Luzhou. Every family was laughing happily. Even the owners of the Yellow River Boating Company were in high spirits tonight, as they had their reunion dinner with the boatmen below them. The 30th day had passed. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not want to give the people such a long holiday. Usually they would only start work after the 15th day. Therefore, they arranged for the people to start work on the 6th of New Year. The people did not have any objections. They just wanted to build their homes as soon as possible. Even if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not let Zhang Zhong put up the notice in advance, they would ask about it themselves. In other places, people who had worked hard for a year would want to have a good rest during the new year. However, the people in Luzhou did not have such thoughts. They felt that working was the most enjoyable thing for them. The main thing was that this kind of work was done together. They could talk for a while working. This was much livelier than when they were working alone. If the people they were used to talking to suddenly had no one to talk to, they would feel very uncomfortable. As expected, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan shifted the focus of the people's work. They asked them to do as much as possible to build the docks at the docks. They also asked them to go to the mountains to get some wood needed to build ships. Li Sun didn't go back home for the new year this year. Old Man Pai's family and Old Man Chang's family spent the new year with Zhang Wang's family. Although Li Sun had grown up a lot and could be considered a responsible person, he was still like a child. He liked to burn incense and throw firecrackers around. After the first day of the new year, he also had things to do. There was still a lot of construction to be done on the mountain. It might be easier to change to flat land. The terrain in the mountain was complicated, and there were all kinds of mosquitoes and wild animals. The wild animals could be left to the guards to deal with, but there was no good way to deal with insects. It was still spring, which meant that it was winter. The weather hadn't warmed up yet. Of course, compared to other places in the north, this place was relatively warm. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan now exercised at the docks every day. Li Sun arranged the things in the mountain and followed the 2 people. When the 2 people did some exercises, he also followed. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't do anything out of the ordinary outside, which was running, leg stretching, and exercises. Li Sun followed. Wang Wan's 2 puppies had grown a lot. As long as Wang Wan went out, they ran behind her. They seemed very excited. Xiaobao, you 2 wait for me. I really can't run anymore. This sandbag wasn't heavy when I picked it up. Why can't I stand it after running for a while with it tied to my body? On the morning of the 8th day of the new year, Li Sun saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan each tied a 3-pound sandbag. Thinking about his age, he only got a 6-pound sandbag. His entire body weighed 6 pounds. He thought that this weight was nothing at all. However, after running behind Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan for a while, he finally regretted it. Although he regretted it, he felt that he still had to hold on. After all, he was the one who asked for this weight. If he took it off now, it would be easy for others to laugh at him. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan running further and further away, he could only ask them to wait. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan each had a half-pound sandbag on their legs, and the other 2 pounds on their bodies. The 2 adjusted their breathing and ran around a garden on the side of the dock. 1 lap of the garden was about 1 kilometer. Now the 2 had only run half a lap, so they weren't tired at all. Hearing Li Sun's shouts from behind, the 2 had no intention of stopping to wait. Who asked Li Sun to be so stupid? One of his legs was tied with a 3-pound sandbag. Not to mention that he wasn't a real adult yet. Even an ordinary adult wouldn't be able to withstand this weight. The 2 didn't want to change their pace because of Li Sun. If they did, it would be very uncomfortable. The expressions on their faces were very relaxed, and they kept running in a counterclockwise direction. maintaining the same frequency and the same size of their steps. Seeing that the two were ignoring him, Li Sun had to run again. But after chasing for a while, he really couldn't go on anymore. It seemed that he had to find a reason to give up the sandbag. Li Sun shouted to the two people who were already out of sight. "Oh, the sandbag on my left leg is too abrasive. I'll take it off first." After shouting, he also knew that the other party would not pay attention to him. He took off the sandbag on his left leg, which was filled with 3 kilograms of sand. After moving his left leg, he felt much better, and continued to run. After running for a while, he shouted again. My right leg is also worn out. I'll make a good one tomorrow. This is really too bad." As he spoke, he also took off the sandbag on his right leg. This was not because it was heavy, but because one leg was light and the other was heavy, so it was more uncomfortable to run. When he took off the sandbag on his right leg, and was ready to chase the two people in front of him, he found that he didn't need to chase. He could just continue to run with them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had already circled behind him. "You too. I asked you to wait for me, but you didn't. I'm so tired. Tomorrow, I'm going to carry these sandbags on me, just like you too." Li Sun ran beside Zhang Xiaobao and didn't forget to complain to the two people. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still silent, and their eyes looked dull. This was the result of relaxing. Li Sun said a few words to himself. Seeing that they were ignoring him, he muttered. "You don't have to be so serious, right? It's just a game. Why do you have to be so serious? Sai, I really admire the two of you. I'll also adjust my breathing." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ran 4 laps before stopping. They went to the side of a flower bed and started to stretch their legs. Li Sun followed them, and ran a little more than 3 laps. He was exhausted. The main reason was that he had used too much energy to carry the sandbags. Otherwise, with his usual training, he wouldn't be so tired. He ran to Zhang Xiaobao's side, and also started to stretch his legs. At the same time, he didn't forget to speak. "Xiaobao, do you think we should connect the 2 rivers to the middle of the mountain and repair it properly? The rivers inside should be connected, right? Especially the waterfall. It just so happens that the people don't have much to do now." "Why don't they have anything to do? Don't connect the rivers under the waterfall. If you really connect them, there will be a lot less beautiful scenery. You can fix the mouth of the waterfall. This will be arranged by you. There's no need to transfer the people from other places. When the construction here is almost done, and the speed of the boat is faster, my family will find a way to find some tourists for you." Zhang Xiaobao finally spoke at this time. The matter of the tourists here had been thought of. That was, they would wait in the capital. Once there was an imperial examination, those who didn't pass could be brought here to travel. The rich people would naturally enjoy better treatment. Those who didn't have money didn't have to worry. They could find some work here, and let them help along the way. For example, they could write some travel notes, draw some scenery, and so on. This was not necessary to make a lot of money. The main purpose was to cultivate the people of Tang, and let those who didn't pass the imperial examination relax. At the same time, they could gain some knowledge. The books in this era were not so rich. There were many experience books that were not in them. Li Sun also knew Zhang Xiaobao's plan. To be precise, it was the plan of the Zhang family. He had always thought so. After listening to Zhang Xiaobao's words, he nodded and said, "Well, I will find a way to speed up. I think the tools used at the Shao Luoshui Wharf in Sanshui County are very good. Can you let people make some iron chains with iron things? That way they can work faster." What Li Sun was talking about was the cargo cranes and other tools at the docks. The ones at the docks were bigger, but the speed at which they worked was much faster than before. He wanted to get more of those tools. When Zhang Xiaobao heard this, he turned to look at Wang Wan. Wang Wan's eyes also lit up. She said, "Yes, this is a good idea. Yes, get some good steel and let the good craftsmen make more tools. Those machine tools are not perfect now, but there should be no problem to make handmade tools." Wang Wan suddenly remembered that some of the tools here were not comprehensive enough. At that time, she and Zhang Xiaobao were not like this. It might be difficult to make a large number of tools, but it was not a problem to let the people around them use them. The most important thing was that after the handmade tools were made, They could slowly be modified bit by bit until they were perfect. They could also be used to assist the machine tools. This might take a long time, but it was better than not doing it. I knew you would have a way. Then I will wait. The matter of steel needs to be done slowly. This is not the capital, and many things are not easy to find. Li Sun saw that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan agreed, so he was relieved. He was waiting for the master hiding in the Zhang family to make more good things. When the time came, not only could he use it, but he could also send some to the Ministry of Works. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw that Li Sun was enthusiastic about this matter, so they suddenly had a better idea. Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao said to Li Sun, "In fact, I think that the people who do things now, although they are always doing it, are not professional enough. For example, building a house is usually done by a craftsman. This kind of ability is not small, but there are fewer people who can do it. There should be a special person in charge of a certain thing. For example, people who build roads are in charge of building roads. As long as they know how to build roads and how to drain water, it will be fine. It is the same for people who build houses. Each person is in charge of one aspect. If young Master Li can find more people, it is better to try this and see if there are any benefits. We can set up a construction company and take on those construction tasks. At first, we can find skilled people to lead them. In the end, we can form a team. Not only can they work for themselves, but they can also make money by working for others. In the process of working, they can improve some tools. At critical times, if there is a need for war, these people can help to build some defensive fortifications. Li Sun could now understand many new words. He also understood what a company meant. It was similar to the group. When he heard Zhang Xiaobao's proposal, he patted his head and said, "Yes, I did. In fact, I have such a vague idea, but I can't say it specifically. Now I know what it means. Yes, a company. I want to set up a company, a construction company. When the time comes, I will take on some work. When there is no work, I can repair things for myself. When there is a war, I can go over and build defenses. That's a good idea. When I get back, I'll start recruiting people. I'll give them better treatment. I'm going to recruit 3,000 people first. After these 3,000 people are trained, I'll continue to recruit more people. You guys have to make the tools in time. Also, there's cement and whatnot. I'll let them use that to practice. Naturally, we can't build defenses with mud and grass like we used to build houses. It can't be made of wood and bamboo like ordinary houses. We will use cement. Hurry up and do it. When you are done, I will go back and recruit people." The more Li Sun spoke, the more excited he became. He began to urge Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. When Zhang Xiaobao heard that Li Sun wanted to recruit people, he quickly denied it and said, "No, you are not allowed to recruit people here. If you recruit all the people here, we will not be able to do anything here. Lu Zhou's idea is not allowed. You have to think of other ways." "Oh, Lu Zhou can't do that?" "That's right. The people here are actually helping the Chamber of Commerce do things in the future. If they really lose 3,000 people, then the Chamber of Commerce will earn a lot less money. All right, other places then. I'll think of a way. It would be good if this was in the capital." When Li Sun heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, he scratched his head and said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan with a smile. When Zhang Xiaobao saw that Li Sun had changed his mind, he was relieved. He did not want to send the people here to other places. Of course, the construction company had to follow the work they received. What if they received a job that was further away? The three of them trained for a while. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan began to watch the progress of the various projects here. Li Sun went back to arrange the establishment of the company. He did not want to monopolize this company. He also wanted to give Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan a share. After Li Sun left, Wang Wan asked Zhang Xiaobao worriedly, "Xiaobao, do you think that after establishing such a professional construction company, they will think of cutting corners when their skills are improved? Then they will come up with a lot of useless projects. I am afraid that they will not put iron wires in the cement but bamboo or wood. The better the skills, the better the products. The people here do not seem to have learned that ability. Of course, they will learn to cut corners. They will not learn to build houses for the people or officials. They will use it to make fake fortifications. They will be able to use it in a real war. Moreover, we can send people to watch over them, especially those with good skills. They will be supervisors in the future. If anyone dares to cut corners when building roads, bridges, or houses, then they will do their best to clean them up. This is the good thing about the era of power. Moreover, there is no real estate to be speculated in now. I reckon that when the time comes, there will be people who will learn from Li Sun and set up some construction teams. But don't worry, the cement is in our hands. We don't care how big the houses are, what kind of bridges and roads are built. If they want to buy the cement, they need to apply. When the time comes, we will send people over to measure the amount needed. We will also have people monitoring. As long as anyone violates the rules, we will stop the supply of cement. Zhang Xiaobao wasn't too worried about this matter. The people here wouldn't cheat like that. At least, some of the commoners wouldn't. As for the construction of the river and sea dikes, some officials might be able to do it, such as using soft soil to replace stone. That's good. I think if it's really a civil organization, if they really cut corners when they're building things, it won't be as simple as stopping the supply of cement. It's very likely that they'll be investigated by the government. I'm afraid that some aristocratic families, who are officials themselves, will take risks in order to obtain enough benefits for themselves. Wang Wan was still a little worried. In the face of profit, morality couldn't restrain them. She thought for a while and continued. Also, we need to pay attention to whether such companies will deliberately accept some projects or fake projects in order to make more money. Then they will deliberately sell cement to the surrounding countries by cheating them. When the time comes, if it is a civil organization, they just need to break it up. After a few days, they can change people to set up a company. As long as they can buy the cement, they will not care about stopping the supply. Yes, this is also a problem. Then we can't sell the cement to them easily. And even if we sell it, we have to let people follow them and give them the cement bit by bit. Only when the original cement is almost used up can we give them new cement. Otherwise, we can't expect more cement to be provided. When Zhang Xiaobao heard this, he became serious. This problem could not be ignored. It was easy for some of the surrounding countries to come up with some schemes when they know about the cement. It was very simple. It was just a shell company. He used to do it often. Chapter 504. Once people had hope and were organized, their strength would be very great. Lu Zhou's people were like this now. They were used to following orders. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were in charge of planning. The two of them did not want to spend time to cultivate the independence of these people. It would not be good for the current construction. Not to mention the current era, even in their time, there were also many people who didn't need to think about their own matters. As long as others took the lead, they would follow suit. If the commoners really understood the true meaning behind everything they did, there would be no need for two people to do anything else. The current situation was not bad. The commoners gathered together to work and eat together. Those who had children at home also sent their children to school. The teacher that old man Pai found had not come yet. He would not leave until after the 15th. Now the children were learning Chinese pinyin. This thing was very useful. In fact, there were things to teach pronunciation, but these things needed to be replaced with Chinese characters. In order to know how to pronounce a Chinese character, one needed to know other Chinese characters. In this way, one would know what the Chinese character was if they used that Chinese character to spell it. This was really frustrating. If the Chinese character that was used as pinyin was difficult to spell, they would have to find out how to pronounce it. There were only 26 letters in pinyin. As long as one remembered the rules, it would be fine. Of course, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had put a lot of effort into this pinyin. After all, the two of them could speak many dialects. However, it was very difficult to get the correct pronunciation. The two of them could only use Arya's book to compare and mark the Chinese characters one by one. This was not a small project. When Li Sun saw these things, he became interested again. He pulled Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Xiaobao, this thing is good. Hurry up. Get all the words we can see. I will learn this in the future." "Xiaobao, If you really get these things, your family will make a great contribution. Hurry up, hurry up. It's best if you can get a book like Yes. Then you can check whatever words you want. There will be pronunciations, explanations, and some allusions. Li Sun immediately found the use of this pinyin. It was really convenient. As long as one memorized the 26 special words and mastered the rules, it would be fine. The masters of the Zhang family were really extraordinary. They had such a good thing. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still comparing the pinyin given by Arya. When they heard Li Sun's words, they stopped. Don't stop, right? I don't know how. When I learn it, I will help you. Hurry up, what is this? As Li Sun spoke, she found something with a drawing on it. Needless to say, one look at the drawing and she knew it was done by Wang Wan. This is to learn the words by looking at pictures. We did it before, but it was not so comprehensive. Now that we have pinyin, we can use this instead. Children need to cultivate their interests. Tell them stories, and then they will read the stories themselves. It's just right for them to learn the words by looking at the stories. As for using this pinyin to make a book of Yes, please forgive us for not being able to do that. We don't have so much time to write a dictionary. No, what you are asking for is not just a dictionary. It's the same as Ci. If we really want to make that thing, Cuckoo and I will not be able to do anything else in our lives. Whoever has the ability can do it. Zhang Xiaobao explained how to learn the words by looking at pictures and rejected Li Sun's proposal very straightforwardly. He and Wang Wan were not that great. There were so many civil officials in the imperial court. Let them do it. There was strength in numbers. It should be very fast to get hundreds of people to specially proofread this. He and Wang Wan just wanted to make some simple teaching materials for the children to use first, and then let others do the work in the future. Besides pinyin, the two decided that the next step was to do mathematics. They took out Arabic numerals and used them. In fact, there were some simple numerals here. Usually they were used for bookkeeping, but this was very irregular. Some bookkeeping was done by circle, while others were done by region. If one wanted to understand all of these bookkeeping in the Great Tang, one would have to learn many, many convenient bookkeeping methods of others. How could this be? They had to be unified, especially the language. They had to use the official Yes. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan decided to keep the local dialects and let these people learn Mandarin. In the end, the language was not the most important. The most important thing was to be able to communicate and communicate smoothly. Li Sun lowered his head and thought for a while. He gritted his teeth and said, I have decided. I will not play these days. I will learn this pinyin thing from the two of you. When I learn it, I will write to others and let them do it. I plan to sleep for 4 hours a day and use the rest of the time to learn. I will eat 4 or 5 meals a day. I will definitely not exceed 2 hours. Then you can learn it yourself. If you want to learn it, you can't let us sleep for 4 hours a day, right? We are still young. Lack of sleep will affect our health. Wang Wan said discontentedly. Oh, then the two of you can sleep. I will go find a few smart people who followed me. When the time comes, we will learn it by ourselves. Li Sun just remembered that the two of them were involved. After saying this, he got up and left, ready to find someone to learn it with him. When he walked out, the two of them realized that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan both knew this. Why couldn't they learn it separately? As long as they slept separately, there would always be someone to learn it with, right? He shook his head. It was better to find someone to do it according to the two of them. After all, the two of them called each other childhood sweethearts. They had to do things together. After Li Sun left, Wang Wan looked at the picture book and thought for a while. She said to Zhang Xiaobao, people nowadays don't seem to know so much about physiology and health. Should we teach it to them? Especially those young officials who don't know how to take care of their bodies. There are some here, right? Those pornographic pictures and women before they get married are always told what to do by their families. If you make it into a proper book, I think it will be easy to be attacked by others. Zhang Xiaobao said. Nowadays, those postures are just pictures. It's not systematic at all. For example, why can't physiology work? Some people still use sticks and bamboo pieces to go to the toilet. Our family uses paper, but many people still do the same. There are so many people in the toilet using the same bamboo piece. Do you think it'll spread germs? Wang Wan was a little disgusted when she talked about this. Zhang Xiaobao could still bear it. He thought for a while and said, "Then don't talk about physiology and health. Just talk about hygiene. We don't have to do it ourselves. Let those people in the hospital do it. As long as someone goes to see a doctor, let the doctor tell them how to pay attention to hygiene. As for the paper, it needs to be improved. We don't need good paper. When the time comes, we can use lime to sterilize it. That's a problem. No wonder children nowadays die so easily. In fact, they just don't pay attention to certain aspects. Change has to be done slowly." Yes, not only children but also adults. Some people pay attention to hygiene. It makes sense. If they don't even have a good life, who has time to pay attention to those things? Only the rich can think about it. Let's write down this matter first. We'll think about it after we finish a small book of pinyin. This time, let's organize 500 words. We can't afford to tire ourselves out with more. Wang Wan felt that just when they were about to do one thing, a new thing came up. It seemed that they would never be able to rest. In fact, she understood that it was not that she and Zhang Xiaobao couldn't rest, but that they didn't want to use so much knowledge that they didn't want to get. That would be a loss. Zhang Xiaobao rubbed his eyes and wrists. He said, "Yes, it's tiring. But since we can contribute to this era, we have to work hard to do it. Whether it's to promote the course of history, or to reflect the self-worth of life, we're here once. If we don't do something, we'll be sorry for ourselves. In the future, we'll find more people to help us. There are so many people in the inner courtyard. I don't want to tire myself to death. I want to live for a few more years and see my ideas recognized and learned by others. I want to see the birth of a strong motherland." Wang Wan took a deep breath. She was moved by Zhang Xiaobao's words. People lived their lives for this. Enjoying material things was more of a spiritual sustenance. If you had the opportunity to work hard but didn't work hard, that would be the biggest regret. With the motivation, the two of them wrote faster. Wang Wan was more familiar with using a brush to pinyin the Chinese characters. Zhang Xiaobao was better than the average person, but it was still tiring for his wrists. When the two of them came up with 300 pinyin characters, Li Sun rushed over with a group of people who served him. They were more clever and could read at the same time. "Listen to me. From today onwards, you have to learn well. Whoever learns the fastest and can teach others will be rewarded. If you don't learn well, wait to be whipped." Li Sun was usually good to his servants. Today, for his great dream, he had to use some threatening means and at the same time, motivating them. There were a total of 6 people who came with him. When they heard the Marquis's words, they nodded and said that they must learn well. If they could learn as much as they could teach others. Chapter 505. After the new year, everyone began to busy themselves with their own things. Even Zhang Wang clan and Wang Wan's mother were busy listening to music. These songs were written by Wang Wan. She found someone who knew how to play it, and took turns to listen to it for the two of them. To be precise, it was for the child in her belly. In order not to make it too monotonous for the two of them to listen to one song, Wang Wan hummed all the songs she could to those people who played it. Some songs were the same. They didn't need lyrics, just the melody. This was a task, and the two mothers began to be arranged regularly. Everyone had things to do. The only people who didn't have things to do were the people who came from the Yellow River boat lane. These owners now understood that the leftovers of the fur they brought couldn't be sold for much money. This trip was in vain. In order to find new business, they began to wander around every day. This made Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan surprised. Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "It seems that your plan was made in vain." They didn't follow the plan at all. They didn't seem to be in a hurry at all. They just let the goods pile up there. Zhang Xiaobao pondered for a while and said, "It's normal. No one can guarantee that every trick will succeed in the end. The Yellow River Shipping Company has been developing for so many years. Even if they were affected by our business recently, they still have their own foundation. They can't be tricked so easily. At least, they lost more than a dozen ships of goods. This is good. They probably want to find some business for themselves. If they want, we can trick them again and make them lose more money. What do you think? I think we should forget about it. If they blocked our ship, then not only did we make a profit from the fur deal, but we also schemed against them once, so we're even. They don't have any hostile relationship with us. Do we have to be enemies just because they want to do business in the same way? That's right. Wang didn't have any hostility to the Yellow River Shipping Company. There didn't seem to be any big conflicts between the two sides. The conflict last time could be considered as revenge. She didn't doubt Zhang Xiaobao's ability at all. If he really wanted to trick the Yellow River Shipping Company, no matter how they hid, it would be useless. It would be the same even if they tried to avoid contact with this side. As long as they were still businessmen, as long as they were still prepared to continue doing business and chasing profits, they couldn't run away. Unless they changed their profession now and ran far away, so that Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't have so much energy to do so. For example, the matter mentioned a few months ago had already been pulled in a lot of people. It was to form a new group and let this group fight with between the clouds and the water. The fight had already started in Beijing. There were other businessmen on both sides joining in, and those who hated between the clouds and the water, and those who protected between the clouds and the water were immediately distinguished. At this time, it should be a small fight. Both sides had wins and losses. The businessmen didn't invest a lot of money. When the fight grew bigger, they would know the consequences of going against between the clouds and the water. Those who wanted to go against between the clouds and the water had already hidden temporarily, but in the end, they were still exposed by Xiaobao. Sigh. If Xiaobao really wanted to trick someone, that person would be finished, especially under the cover of a child's identity. Many people who were tricked didn't know who their real opponent was. The so-called know thyself and know thy enemy didn't need to be used on Zhang Xiaobao. In fact, Zhang Xiaobao was just asking. It was too easy to trick the Yellow River Shipping Company again. They were still looking for opportunities to do business here, so how could they hide? Seeing that Wang didn't advocate this kind of trick, he said, let's leave it at that. All right, let's ignore them for now. If they find a new way to make money here, as long as it doesn't infringe on our interests, I will pretend that I don't know. But if they are prepared to use our losses to achieve their goals, then don't blame me for being rude. The furs from his ships are actually quite useful. Think of a way to buy them, or even lower the cost. The cost I'm talking about doesn't include the cost of transportation. It's the lowest price they'll pay when they buy them. The price we're selling to them is definitely not good enough. Let's go and teach Li Sun and the rest. After we're done with this, we still have to continue leading the family seeds protection team to the mountains for training. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he pulled Wang and walked out. Wang smiled and said, it's better to let them keep those furs on the ship for a while. When the next batch of ships comes, they will be anxious to sell them. If we talk to them about buying now, they will definitely not give up. That's right, they're looking for new goods. They're not in too much of a hurry when that ship is parked here. When another fleet comes, they'll realize that they've wasted a lot of time. Perhaps they'll know now, but they just can't make up their minds to cut off their losses. Zhang Xiaobao knew what Wang meant. In fact, it was because of some personal reasons now. If it were him and Wang, when the two of them found that the furs on the ship were worthless, they would definitely get all the furs on the shore, and then use the fastest speed to investigate here, and buy some things back. Many people here thought that as long as the ship was parked there, they would not lose money as long as they were not in a hurry to sell it. But Wang and he thought that as long as the ship was not running back and forth, it was a loss. If these ships were bought by the people of the Yellow River Shipping Company with a high interest rate, they would not let the ships continue to be parked there. Every day the ships were parked there was a great loss. The two of them left the room while talking. They were ready to finish teaching Li Sun's people, and move on to the next thing. The owners of the Yellow River Shipping Company were inspecting Lu Zhou's side. They wanted to know what could be sold here, and at the same time, they wanted to buy some valuable things back. They had been going around for a few days. The more the people of the Yellow River Shipping Company went around, the more disappointed they became. They didn't expect that the business opportunity here was controlled by the Zhang family. Those Chamber of Commerce contacted them and said that they were willing to sell things to them. They even selected some types for them to understand. Logically speaking, this was a good thing, but the price of the goods given by these Chamber of Commerce was too high. It was so high that if these goods were transported back to the capital, they could only earn less than 500 strings of coins. This was after deducting the cost of food, which was not bad. At least, they did not come here for nothing. However, they should not calculate the cost like this. If they wanted to calculate, they should calculate the biggest profit. This was not the biggest profit. The money for the furs had not been calculated yet. If they were to calculate everything, they would lose more than 3,000 strings of coins this time. This was not a big sum of money for the Yellow River Shipping Company. The problem was, if they did not lose, how much could they make this time? If they combined the profit and the loss, it would not be as simple as 3,000 strings of coins. When the people of the Yellow River Shipping Company found that they could not make a move here, someone finally could not take it anymore. He said to the other owners, "I think we should stop looking for business here in Luzhou. Let's go back and take those furs back. Maybe there will be people in other provinces who are willing to buy these furs. A living person can't die from suffocation. I've decided to leave this place and go to other provinces to have a look. Are you going to wait here or come with me?" When he heard the owner's words, Sun Dongjia frowned and persuaded, "You can't be too anxious about this. What if something happens? Let's wait for 2 more days. If we still can't find any business, then we'll talk about it again. You can't leave alone while everyone else stays here, right? If you're in danger, it'll be too late to save you even if we want to." As soon as he said that, the others echoed his words. Indeed, this owner only had 2 ships. This was not the Yellow River, but the sea. They might encounter danger at any time. It was better to wait for a while. When the time came, everyone would act together. This person was also very sullen and wanted to vent his anger. When he heard the dissuasion of others, he followed suit and no longer mentioned leaving. "Sun Dongjia, do you know what's the best business here?" Seeing that someone had stopped Sun Dongjia, someone next to him asked Sun Dongjia. Sun Dongjia bitterly smiled and said, "How would I know? This place is different from other places. The things that are picked up in the mountains are handed over to the Zhang family's Chamber of Commerce to sell. The things in the sea are also organized by them. As for the things that are produced here, they have no use at all. It's difficult, so we'll have to look again." When the others saw that Sun Dongjia didn't have a solution, they could only continue to think hard about what could make money. Normally, they could easily find a way to make money. The problem was that the various businesses in this place were controlled by the Zhang family. Even if others wanted to intervene, they couldn't. At this time, the group had already reached the east side of the 2 rivers that were dug out. Looking at the spring fish in the water happily playing there, everyone's faces were filled with helplessness. "Let's see if the fish here are okay. When we came here, I heard that their ship bought a lot of crabs when it passed by Lake Tai. It's not easy to eat them here, so they use them to make dishes. Some even raise them. Since they can raise them, we can do the same." Sun Dongjia stared at the fish swimming in the river and said to the others. The others shook their heads one after another. These fish weren't valuable, so it was useless to catch more. Sun Dongjia seemed to understand the thoughts of the others. He just didn't have an idea and didn't expect others to agree with him. The group of people gave up on the fish in the water and continued to walk upstream along the shore. Needless to say, when these people were walking, they praised the construction of the river. Not only was the water big, but it was also very stable. It was also very convenient for watering. As they walked, these people came to a place that seemed to be slightly wider than other places. Once this place was wider, the river became even smoother. Suddenly, a person looked at the river and shouted happily, "I've got it! I've thought of a good idea. It's the fish farming that Master Sun mentioned just now." When the others heard him say that he had a good idea, they were also happy. But who knew that it was still fish? What was the use of raising fish? There were people who didn't like to eat fish, and people who liked to eat fish naturally lived near the lake or river. Even if the Zhang family had made a lot of fish dishes, most of the fish were not the fish here. but the carp in the Yellow River. That was the most delicious, especially some dishes made with carp, which made the price of carp a lot higher. Seeing the silent expression of the people, the person who just spoke continued. The fish I'm talking about is not the fish to eat, but this kind. Look at the water. There are two kinds of fish. If we catch more of these kinds of fish, wouldn't it be a good thing to show others when we go back? Look, isn't the colorful fish very beautiful when they swim in the water? If we raise a few of them at home, the guests will definitely admire them when they come. Then we can casually tell stories to others. That feeling, tsk. After he said that, the others looked carefully. It was indeed as he said. There were two kinds of fish in this flat place. No, if they could be divided by the depth of the color, there should be four kinds of colors. At this time, when they looked carefully, they found that there were many fish in this place, and it seemed that every one of them had a color. Thinking about what the person said just now, everyone was tempted. If they brought these fish back, it wouldn't be a problem to sell them for dozens of strings of coins. Especially since these fish could produce seeds. As long as they raised them for a year, there would be a pile of such fish. Thinking of this, some people prepared to go into the water, but no matter how smooth the water was, they couldn't go in. It was too deep, and it was too easy for them to go in without a person. The people on the shore began to worry. At this time, a few people who were working were preparing to wash their faces. Hey, come here, I have something to tell you. Sun Dongjia called out to those people. Those people walked over in confusion. Looking at the people in front of them, they didn't know why they were called over. I have something to tell you. Do you see the fish in the water? Sun Dongjia asked those people and pointed at the fish in the river. Those people nodded, indicating that they saw it. At the same time, they were even more confused. It's like this, I'm going to give you a benefit, and that is, if you go down and help me catch these colorful fish, I'll give you 5 copper coins for each one you catch. 5 copper coins, it's much easier than working for you. If you can catch 10 of them, it'll be 50 copper coins. Look at how many of these fish there are in the water, and you know how much money you can make in the end. Also look, this fish is only swimming in this place, and it doesn't go down or up, so it's not difficult to catch it. How about it? Are you willing to do it? If you are, I'll take the money now. Sun Dongjia continued to speak, and also told those people what he found out. The price of each fish was 5 copper coins. He thought that once these people heard this, they would jump into the river without even taking off their clothes. As he spoke, he took out some silver coins. It was inconvenient to carry copper coins when they were outside, so they could just take the silver coins to some pawnshops or banks to exchange them. Sometimes they could even buy things directly. He was right, and the others were also thinking the same. However, as soon as he finished speaking, those people in front of him looked at them with vigilance, indicating that they were going to make a move. What? Are you afraid that I'll cheat you? Or do you think the money is too little? Sun Dongjia looked at those people and found that something was wrong, so he asked softly. At this time, one of those people spoke. These colorful fish are raised by a good official, and are prepared to be sold for a lot of money in the future. You want to get one for 5 copper coins? Are you guys deliberately targeting these fishes? Ah, raised by someone else? A good official? Oh, it's Provincial Governor Zhang, right? These fish are raised by his family? In the future, they will be sold for a lot of money. Oh no, this business is gone again. At this time, the person who suggested to catch the fish was completely listless. He thought that he was the only one who was smart, and no one else could think of this. Who knew that it was not the case at all? Of course they are raised by Lord Zhang. Look carefully. Why don't those fish run to other places? That's because there are 3 layers of fine nets on both sides. The local who spoke just now pointed at the nets in the water that one had to look very carefully to see and said to the group of masters. It seems that everyone is not a fool. It turns out that this is the situation. After taking a closer look, it was indeed the case. Just as this person had said, there was a net in the river. They had only thought of this idea because they saw a special fish, but this person had already started to raise them. It was obvious who was better between the 2 sides. The group of masters was convinced. They just thought of a good idea after seeing the fish raised by the other party. No wonder the people here looked at them like that. It turned out that this was the reason. Forget it, they couldn't catch this fish anymore. Even though no one was watching them now, if they really caught it, some people might pop out from somewhere and catch them too. After looking at those beautiful fish with pity, these masters continued to walk to other places, preparing to look for other things that could be sold for money. This search lasted for 2 days, but they didn't find anything useful at all. Today, the group of people came to the vicinity of a swamp. Generally, no one would come here. The few of them also knew that this place was more dangerous. If a python or other things came out, it would be very easy to die. Therefore, the few of them were very cautious, afraid that they wouldn't be able to react in time. As they walked, the group stood next to a pond with fewer plants and looked at the scenery of spring. Some of the flowers had already bloomed. After all, the weather here was warm. If they did well, there would be flowers blooming in all 4 seasons. There was also a trace of green in the grass. Even if the weather was a little cold, it would make people feel more comfortable. Take off your shoes, roll up your pants, and walk inside. What if you find something? For example, fish with the same color. The fish here are not under their control, right? Even if they are preparing to use this kind of fish to do business, as long as we don't catch them in the river, what can they do? At this time, one of the masters proposed to go down and take a look. The few of them thought about it and nodded. Although they were afraid of being bitten by leeches in the water, it was not a big deal. At worst, they could just use the soles of their shoes to slap them down. Their shoes were not easy to take off. After a while, they finally took off their shoes and rolled up their trousers. Just as they finished rolling up their trousers, and before they could go down, a figure suddenly flipped over about 10 feet in front of them. A 3-foot-long fish of unknown species was bitten by the thing that flipped over. After that thing bit the big fish, it began to turn its body vigorously until it got rid of a part of the fish that was bitten. Then it ate a piece of the fish and looked at the people on the shore. Slowly, it sank into the water, and after a while, no trace of it could be found. Crocodile. There is actually a crocodile here. It's too scary. One of the masters covered his chest with his hand and breathed quickly. His face was pale. He knew about this thing, but he didn't expect it to be so close. If it really went into the water, it wouldn't be the fish that was eaten, but one of them. Since there was one, there might be others hiding in the dark. Thinking like this, everyone quickly retreated a distance, afraid that something would suddenly come out and bite them. Too dangerous, really too dangerous. How could there be a crocodile here? At this time, one of the owners recovered a little. As he spoke, he thought for a moment and picked up a few stones from the side and threw them into the water. As soon as he threw the stones, there was a reaction in the water. With a splash sound, some of the crocodiles sank, and 2 of them actually crawled towards them. Everyone didn't even bother to wear shoes. Barefoot, they ignored the pain of the grass and ran as far as they could. After running for a distance, they saw that the crocodile didn't chase after them, and let out a sigh of relief. Oh my, where did so many crocodiles come from? Fortunately, we didn't go down just now. Sun Dongjia said with a lingering fear in his heart. The other people also deeply agreed. This time it was all thanks to the big fish that was eaten that day. Otherwise they would have been finished. This could be considered as keeping their lives. At this time, one by one, they found that their bodies were wet with cold sweat. They walked around the gate of hell, and were still scared. After a while, everyone gradually recovered. Looking at the scenery over there, it was no longer as comfortable as when they first arrived. It seemed to be a place that ate people without spitting out the bones. Everyone sat there, unwilling to move for a while. At this time, the eyes of the person who said that he wanted to catch the colored fish lit up. Chapter 506. This person's ideas were really good, and he was always able to come up with ideas when he saw something. Although everyone was scared, this didn't stop them from dreaming of making money. After hearing this person's words, they felt that it was indeed reasonable. If crocodile skin could be made into leather armor, it would be much stronger than some cowhide. Ordinary soldiers couldn't afford to wear it, but those generals didn't have any problems. Their families were rich, especially those who came from aristocratic families. Thinking of this, everyone became interested and no longer feared the crocodiles. Sun Dongjia pondered for a moment and said, I think we can't go back and look for the local people. Otherwise, if they tell this news to the Zhang family, with the Zhang family's means of making money, how could they not know the value of this place? Zhang Zhong is the provincial governor of this place, so he can do whatever he wants. As long as he casually finds an excuse, such as getting rid of evil for the people, then he can bring a lot of people here to kill the crocodiles. When the time comes, we won't be able to get any benefits. Yes, this matter can't be known to other people. We have to find our own people. However, it seems that dealing with these crocodiles won't be easy. We also need some tools. I don't know if the ship can make tools to kill crocodiles. If they can, then we can talk about it. If they can't, then we have to be careful when we buy them here. Another owner was also very much in favor of this idea. It seems that there should be a lot of crocodiles in this place. With so many crocodiles, they were all money. If they didn't get them back, then they would regret it in their dreams at night. Everyone reached an agreement and nodded. Each of them also expressed their own ideas, especially how to get the crocodiles back after killing them. Some said that they should use gunny sacks to pack the crocodiles, while others said that they should directly peel off the skin here. At that time, others wouldn't be able to see what the crocodiles were. In any case, there were all kinds of ideas. Everyone reached an agreement. As for the final distribution, they would wait until the crocodiles were brought back first. They couldn't let this matter affect the harmony now. The more he spoke, the happier he became. It was as if he was about to make a fortune. After putting on his shoes again, the group began to walk back. When they came, they were looking for something, so they walked slowly. When they returned, they were thinking about making a fortune. As they walked, they suddenly heard a thud. A person seemed to have tripped over something. Everyone was shocked, thinking that there was a crocodile there. When the person got up, they realized that it was a false alarm. The man cursed and lowered his head to see what had tripped him. In the end, he saw something made of wood. It was a pole with a piece of wood on it. He flipped it over and said to the others helplessly, "There's no need to go back and find someone to kill the crocodiles. These crocodiles already have owners." Everyone curiously went closer to take a look and saw that the sign said, "Crocodile Breeding Area. Please be careful. Hunting crocodiles is prohibited." How could this be? Why was it like this? Did the Zhang family think of crocodile? The smile on the face of the man who had thought of this idea just now disappeared. He looked at the words on the sign and couldn't believe it. The others had similar expressions. They felt a deep sense of helplessness. What was this? Could it be that they couldn't find other ways to make money in Luzhou's territory? Every crocodile that they found was already owned. They didn't leave any chance at all. Sigh. Sun Dongjia sighed and said to the others, "I finally understand now. The Zhang family came here first. They have been here for so long. How could they not explore this place carefully? They would leave anything that could make money. These crocodiles are actually raised by them. There's no other way. Let's go back." The others also understood when they heard this. It was true. The Zhang family was so good at making money. How could they not know that these crocodiles could bring them benefits? Did they really think the Zhang family was a fool? At this time, they had already given up on the matter of the crocodiles. They could imagine that as long as too many people came here, how could the Zhang family not pay attention to the crocodile breeding ground? They would immediately send people over. Fortunately, someone was knocked down and saw the fallen sign. Otherwise, if they really came here to kill the crocodiles and the Zhang family found out, they and the others would not have a good time. At that time, they would have no way to explain themselves. Who would believe that they didn't see the sign? That sign must have been deliberately knocked down by them. Don't be discouraged. Keep looking. Maybe the Zhang family has an unexpected way of making money waiting for us. If there's no other way, we can discuss with Zhang Zhong and do some business with them. It's fine even if we ask for less. After all, everything here is a treasure. Sun Dongjia also thought it through at this time. If they could find something, they would try their best to look for it. If they really couldn't find anything, they would talk to them. They couldn't come here for nothing. The leftovers on the ship had already been paid for. They couldn't go back empty-handed, right? As for bringing back those leftovers, it was even more useless. It was better to bring them to the sea and then put some fish here to collect the travel expenses. The mood of the group of people had been fluctuating back and forth in the past few days. Even when they felt helpless, they were a little glad that they hadn't really boarded the Zhang clan's ship back then. Otherwise, even if they had seen something, so what? If they came here, would Zhang Zhong take revenge? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't know that their original idea would bring such a big blow to others. The two of them were still teaching others pinyin. It was indeed easier to teach adults than children. The reading method of pinyin was to first use some Chinese characters to replace them, then use pinyin to spell the Chinese characters. It was a cycle. In the past few days, the people sent by Li Sun had already memorized the 26 letters and knew the rules. Now, they only needed one more proficiency. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finished the last lesson of the day, they didn't have to work so hard anymore. When the time came, they would let the people who learned it continue to teach others. Cuckoo, is it time to go up the mountain? We still don't know what the Shirwan Mountains look like in spring. It's a good opportunity to train them. After throwing away the chalk in his hand, Zhang Xiaobao patted the dust and discussed with Wang Wan. Yes, it's time to go up the mountain. These people need to train frequently. It's a good opportunity to train more in jungle warfare. After all, there will be more jungles in the future. If they aren't careful, they won't be able to adapt, or get sick, or get bitten by something. Wang Wan actually also wanted to go up the mountain to play. These days, she and Zhang Xiaobao were really exhausted and didn't have much free time. It wasn't easy to get things done. They could slowly think about the next thing while training others in the mountain. Anyway, there were now many wooden houses in the mountain, and there was no lack of places to rest. This time, they couldn't not bring Li Sun up the mountain. Li Sun planned to bring more people this time. Last time, he only brought 50 people, which was a bit too little. This time, he planned to leave the 50 people who went last time and bring the other 150 people with him. They would use the method last time, which was to rush to the mountain. The advantage of going now was that the weather wasn't that hot, so 150 people could enjoy themselves. Moreover, they didn't need to bring so many things. They only needed to bring food for a few days. When they reached the mountain, there was food everywhere, so they didn't have to worry about going hungry. While they were discussing about going up the mountain to play, the people in Qinzhou were busy planting this year's crops and some vegetables. Tang, governor of Ning, even if it wasn't for the imperial court, he still had to work hard for the Ning family's foundation here. He gathered all the people in each county and assigned them a task. This year, not only did they have to plant all the land, but they also had to open up more land according to their current proportion of land. When the time came, they would be rent-free for a period of time. He didn't say how long this period of time was. In fact, there was a rule, but he didn't want to follow that rule. That would cause him to lose a lot of benefits. 1 year might be his limit. He didn't want to see others reap the benefits while he didn't get anything. After this order was issued, those officials all complained. It wasn't that they didn't want to accept this task, but they didn't have that many people. If more than 15,000 people left, how were they going to plant? Could it be that they had to do it themselves? Even so, they wouldn't be able to plant much. Tang, governor of Ning, didn't care about this. He only cared about giving orders. If an official didn't do a good job, he would find trouble with that official. Under such circumstances, the officials from each county left dejectedly. They really didn't know how to plant so much land. If they wanted to plant the land, they would need a lot of cows. They understood that they could just fork out the money themselves. Maybe they could make it in time. In the end, they didn't know if they could earn back the money. They could only think of other ways. However, the land reclamation task was not easy. Could they use cows to reclaim the land? It was impossible now. To reclaim the land, they had to burn the land and plow the land. After the land was plowed, they had to bring water over. There weren't that many people now. When they thought of the population, These officials were filled with resentment. They hated Zhang Zhong. If he didn't come over, if he didn't send people to provide disaster relief, why would all the people here go to Luzhou? Apart from hating Zhang Zhong, they also complained about Tang, governor of Ning. All of this was caused by him. If he didn't stop the caravan, would they do this? If he sent people to help when the wind came and didn't hide in the cellar for such a long time, would the local people be bitterly disappointed? These were all impossible. But what could they do now? They could only discuss with the others and see if they could come up with a solution. They couldn't just stand there and do nothing, right? What should they do? What should they do? After these people left Tang, governor of Ning's place, they didn't immediately disperse. Instead, they gathered together and began to discuss what to do. One by one, they discussed. Tang, governor of Ning, was also worried about this year's farming. Naturally, he knew how many people were missing here. It was not just 15,000 people. 15,000 people had gone to Luzhou. There were also some people who didn't go to Luzhou. They had distant relatives in other places, so they went to seek shelter with them. In addition to the people who died, more than 20,000 people were missing. How many people were there in Qinzhou? It would be a lie to say that he didn't regret it. He also knew that if he could send people over earlier, or provide enough food, not so many people would leave. Now that he knew about it, there was nothing he could do. He could only send the pressure to the people below, and let the people below bear it. He felt that he had not had a good time during this period of time. And the root cause of all this was after Zhang Zhong came here. In the past, when he stopped those caravans, no one in Luzhou would say anything. He was already used to it. Since Zhang Zhong came, he first restricted some useful things from coming to his place. Then he brought 2 disasters. Yes, these disasters were brought by Zhang Zhong. The more Tang, governor of Ning, thought about it, the angrier he became. He slammed his hand on the table, startling the steward who had just come in. When he saw that it was just a slap on the table, the steward quickly walked up and said, "Master, it's almost time. Don't you want to go to the back and have a look? The people there are almost ready." "It's time to eat again? Fine, let's eat. We still have food to eat today. Who knows when all the people in Qinzhou will go to Luzhou? At that time, there will be no one to grow food. We can all just wait to starve to death. The emperor clearly knows what kind of impact it will have on Qinzhou if those people leave, but he didn't say a word about it. My Ning family is working so hard for him, and he doesn't pity us at all. I'm so angry. Who's going to grow all these empty land? Does our family have to do it too?" Tang, governor of Ning, was full of anger now. No matter what he saw, he would find a way to vent his anger. The steward also knew that this year's food was going to run out. If there was no one to grow the land, what was the use of having good land? When the time came, the taxes would not increase, and the Ning family would lose a lot of money. Of course, this was not to say that they would not be able to eat. Even if all the people starved to death, it would not affect the Ning family. The Ning family had their own land, and they had taken over a lot of it through various means. There were people who specialized in growing food there. No matter what happened elsewhere, the Ning family had enough food every year. They could even sell a lot of it. Yes, they could put the new food in the warehouse and sell the old food. The problem was that this was not how they sold it in the past. They used to mix the old food with the rent and send it to the other side. If 100 caddies of food was mixed with 10 caddies of food, no one would be able to tell the difference. In any case, the people in charge of inspecting the food would only take a quick look and weigh it. When the time came, they would give the officials their salaries. Thinking of this, the steward's mood improved a little. Those officials from the capital were awe-inspiring, but no matter how awe-inspiring they were, what could they do? If they said that the rent they sent was mixed with some old food, then they could only eat such food. If they said that they spit or put some sand in their food, then they would not be able to tell. In order to make the master happy, the steward said what he was thinking. Sure enough, when Tang, governor of Ning, heard the steward's words, he laughed and said, "Yes, so what if they are officials from the capital? They still have to look at our faces. In a while I will write an impeachment report. Instead of giving it to the emperor, I will ask the person in charge of impeachment to write a new report. Then I will go and impeach Zhang. If they don't dare to do it, then I will put feces in their rent for the second half of this year. Tang, governor of Ning, who felt a little better in his heart, found the steward much more pleasing to the eye. He followed the steward to the back of the hall. When they were eating, he said to the steward, "What do you think we can do to plant all the food here? The wasteland reclamation I mentioned was nothing more than to scare those officials. I can already imagine that when the time comes, they won't think that there will be any wasteland. But if I don't say that and directly mention the matter of planting all the land, they will delay the matter of planting the land. Now they will desperately plant the land." Master, you are right. They are indeed such people. No matter how much pressure you put on them, there will always be things that they will not do. The less pressure you put on them, the more they will not work hard. Master, you are the best. I didn't think of this. Master, speaking of farming, this lowly one learned from those who were sent out to gather information that Zhang didn't let the people farm on their own. Instead, he gathered the people together before letting them work together. Master, shouldn't we try the same thing? In fact, the steward had this idea in his mind. He found that the speed at which Lu Zhou gathered the people to work on the land was much faster than before. After all, some people were faster at plowing the land, some were faster at planting the seedlings, and some were faster at disposing the water. Of course, another reason was that the commoners all listened to Zhang and never slacked off. Moreover, they were divided into small farming groups and competitions. The faster they were, the better they were. And the better they were, the better the rewards they would get. Of course, another reason was that the commoners all listened to Zhang and never slacked off. Moreover, they were divided into small farming groups and competitions. The faster they were, the better they would get. This was the most important thing. If the people were to work in the competition, they would have people to chat with. Naturally, they would work faster and would not feel tired. Otherwise, if they were to work alone, they would feel dizzy just by looking at them. Tang, governor of Ning, was very happy when he heard the steward's praise. When the steward said that he wanted to learn from Zhang's method, Tang, governor of Ning, made an exception and did not get angry. He had to admit that the Zhang family was capable, although he did not know the specific reason. Since the people gathered together could work faster, why not try and learn from Zhang? All right, then I will leave this matter to you. Tell the county magistrates to gather the people together like what Lu Zhou did. Then they will plant the land and open up more wastelands. Tang, governor of Ning, did not want to see those county magistrates anymore. When he was giving orders today, they were like wooden blocks. Not only did they not know anything, but they kept whispering how difficult it was. Was it difficult? If it were Zhang, perhaps he would have a good idea. What do you think, if Zhang encountered such a situation, what would he do? Tang, governor of Ning, asked casually. The steward was stunned. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Master, I don't think Zhang can do anything. After all, the situation here is different from before. Even Master can only come up with such a difficult method. How can Zhang compare to Master?" "Yes, I think so too. You go and talk to those county magistrates first. Come back for dinner after you're done." Tang, governor of Ning, was very happy even though he knew that the steward's words were not reliable. "Yes, master." The steward answered and left in a hurry. The sooner he finished talking, the sooner he could come back. Today's meal was delicious. He could not miss it. He usually could not eat today's food. When the steward came to the side of a large tree where the officials who had yet to leave were, he could already hear the voices of these people discussing how to adapt. Out of curiosity, the steward slowed down and listened carefully, preparing to hear something useful so that he could give the old master some ideas. The more he listened, the more he realized that those people had indeed come up with many ideas, but none of them could be used. Someone even came up with an idea to get the people from Lu Zhou's side to help with the farming. This was clearly a fool's dream. The other side suddenly mentioned what would happen if Lu Zhou's Zhang was here. When the steward heard this, his interest was piqued. In the end, the other side gave a variety of answers. It seems that they can't think of anything. As for Zhang, if he was here, it would be a different scene. Why bother to torment people? The steward muttered in a low voice. He made those people who were still seriously thinking of ideas look at him and said to them, "Speaking of Zhang, he may have learned some things from other places. If he really encountered the problem here, he may not have any ideas. He can only use the old tricks." Steward Ning, what old tricks? When someone heard that there was an old trick that could work, he quickly asked. This was the effect that the steward deliberately made. He could not tell everyone at the beginning that they should learn from Zhang now. That would be very embarrassing. He could tell them this method by belittling Zhang. Even if Master knew about it, he would not find trouble with him. When he heard this person's question, the steward smiled and said, "What else can it be? Of course, it's the method that Zhang used many times before. Gather the people together and let them work. In this way, the capable people can naturally do their own work well. Moreover, we don't have to worry about those people being lonely when they work by themselves or by themselves." Chapter 507. Zhang didn't know that some people were learning from him. He was now busy as well. After breakfast, he asked about Jiang Wang clan's health. Then he went outside to instruct the people to plant things. Some things had different seasons, so they needed to be planted first, especially vegetables. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time. Zhang saw that some of the people's wives had children, and they were about to give birth soon. He quickly brought these people to the house that his son built for them. These houses maintained good ventilation, but it didn't make people feel uncomfortable being blown by the wind. Moreover, the wind wasn't cold. It was very comfortable in such a place. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan made this house after many experiments. Every day, they would sprinkle some indigo in the house. Although it was just a dye, it also had the effect of sterilizing. Before they could find something to replace it, they could only use this. In fact, the effect of alcohol should be better, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were afraid that some people would be allergic to alcohol, so they didn't dare to use it that way. Jiang Wang clan was very envious when she found out that some people were giving birth in this season. The weather was not hot now, so giving birth would be less painful. When the weather became hot, she would have to do nothing all day with a big belly. She would sweat non-stop. At that time, if it was the person's first time giving birth, it would be dangerous. As long as the child was a little older, it wouldn't be so smooth. After a long time, the person would be exhausted. Therefore, many people liked to give birth in winter. It was much more comfortable that way, especially after giving birth. They had to go through confinement. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came up with a new method of confinement. Usually, during confinement, the woman couldn't take a bath. She could only stay there all day, and the windows were not allowed to be ventilated. Otherwise, she would be easily exposed to the wind, and it would be a lifelong illness. She couldn't bathe for a month, had to feed the baby milk, and eat so many oily things all day. In addition, the airflow wasn't good and it was too hot. One could imagine how uncomfortable it was to give birth in the summer. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't agree not to take a bath, but they could use some disinfectant water to wipe their bodies. Besides, the room didn't have to be so stuffy. They just had to ensure that the temperature was balanced. To be honest, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had never figured out what was going on with the wind. Many people said that it was caused by bacteria, but when the wind blew, it was true that there were no wounds on the body and no direct breathing. For example, when the wind blew through the gap in the window, it was very likely that the arm would not be able to be lifted the next day. If it was a real bacterium, why was the combination of acupuncture and cupping able to cure the disease so quickly? Could it be that acupuncture and jars could kill bacteria? The two of them didn't study medicine, so they didn't understand this kind of thing. However, the two of them knew that the change in temperature was related to the degree of expansion of a person's sweat pores. Then they could work on this aspect. The reason why they built such a place was actually that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would experiment on other people. This sounded very immoral, but the two of them were almost ready. They felt that at least it was better than not being ventilated. If there was no ventilation and they didn't wipe the body, it was very likely that more bacteria would be produced. Relying only on the secretion of the body fluid to kill bacteria didn't seem to be so effective. In other words, if the two of them did this, at least the chances of the mothers being experimented on getting sick would be very low. Ever since Zhang Zhong brought the pregnant women who were about to give birth to such a house, Jiang Wang clan and Wang Wan's mother began to come over every day to sit and chat with these pregnant women who were about to give birth. If they were first-time mothers, the two of them would try their best to impart some of their experience. There were also the women who Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan specially sent over to study medicine in the hospital, as well as the midwives who had summarized their experience and systematically learned it. They also sat by the side to listen. Then they would give their opinions and suggestions for reference. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't have any experience in this area. Some of them only learned it from books. Therefore, they could only hope that these individuals could improve their skills bit by bit and teach others. This way, more people would have experience in this area in the future. It was a very long process, but they couldn't stop because it was too long. Perhaps after 10 years, these individuals would be able to use the skills they had learned to make more mothers and children safe. Of course, it would be good if they could do a cesarean section. That way there would be fewer deaths. However, the current technology was far from reaching that length. However, if there were really pregnant women who were about to die because of dystocia, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would let the surgeons who followed them do the surgery. At least there was a certain possibility of survival. If they didn't do the surgery, they would all die. At that time, there would be no safety or sequelae at all. After all, it was better to be alive. As experimental subjects, it was impossible for these expectant mothers to not get any benefits. Their current clothes and other things were prepared by the Zhang family. They would also be taken care of in terms of food and drink. They would wait until the child was born and turned 1 year old. During this process, they didn't have to spend a single penny. All kinds of things were taken care of by the Zhang family. Even ethnic activities, including the child's full moon banquet, would be taken care of by the Zhang family. After all, they had experimented on others. After they had more experience in the future, they could provide free birth care to the people under their rule, until the child was 1 month old. Xiaobao, there are about 3 days left, right? The doctor said that there are still 3 days left. That's about it. I heard that he is very experienced in this area. When the time comes, we will know if the things we do will help the pregnant woman. Wang Wan was now counting the days. She was ready to go and see for herself when the time came. Zhang Xiaobao was excluded. Even if Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about this at all. It was not allowed to let a man deliver a child in this era. If he was responsible, the palace would not have so many female doctors. Even if imperial doctors were needed, they would have to take the pulse or cover the eyes. Who would care about looking, smelling, asking, and feeling the pulse? After Zhang Xiaobao heard Wang Wan's words, he nodded. It should be about the same. Do you know what underwater birth is? I heard that it's very good, but I haven't seen it before. Wang Wan shook her head. I don't know. Let's see which animal is about to give birth in the future, and get it underwater to see. Let's not do that. What if we kill it? Leave this matter to the doctors in the future. Doctors are not only in charge of treating diseases, they are also in charge of experiments. I don't know if we can get mice or monkeys. Unfortunately, we don't know the specific situation of those cells. We don't have the technology. Even if we have a microscope decades later, we won't be able to figure out what those cells represent. Zhang Xiaobao felt a little regretful when he said this. When you don't know about technology, you don't care about it at all. But when you know that you have better methods but can't use them, you will be left with regret. Well, don't worry about this. When you are feeling bad for the people here, have you ever thought that there will be people from a more developed time and space who will feel bad for us? And as long as the development is good, it doesn't seem to take that long. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, how long did it take to evolve from generation to generation? It didn't take long, and there were some detours. Get rid of those detours. As long as we can cultivate the relevant talents, we can shorten this time. The only difficulty is human thinking. At the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the reason why the whole process was so long and detours was because of the influence of human thinking. During that process, people's thinking also changed. We need to find a way to make people's thinking change faster. Wang Wan comforted at the side. At the same time, she analyzed the development of human beings. The most difficult thing was not discovering something, but the change in human thinking during the process of discovering something. Zhang Xiaobao also understood this principle, but it was precisely this that was the most difficult. In an era of imperial power, in the process of making people accept some new things, it was inevitable that there would be an impact on the imperial power. What could the emperor do about it? What could the powerful group that relied on the emperor for a living do? Even if these people didn't do anything, others would do something. When the collision of various ideas caused some of the propaganda methods of Taoism and Buddhism to be restrained, would people be willing? Zhang Xiaobao thought of these things and sighed helplessly. He really had no way to pry this matter. Perhaps it was because he lacked a fulcrum. Fulcrum? Fulcrum, yes, just one fulcrum will do. It seems that we can only use it when we are older. Now is not the time. This fulcrum is a little difficult to find. It also requires technical support. Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and had an idea. Wang Wan was stunned. What fulcrum? Could it be that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to pry the earth? Looking at Zhang Xiaobao and waiting for him to give an explanation, Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and said, I can't say. This goal is a bit too big. I really can't say. Let's study other people's childbirth. If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. When the time comes, we will naturally know. Wang Wan was now used to Zhang Xiaobao. Indeed, there were many things that she would rather not know. Instead, she would waste her energy on things that Zhang Xiaobao should be responsible for. This way, the cooperation between the two of them would be inefficient. While others were busy, Chao Hui and the other two didn't run away. The three of them were now learning from others, and using a big manure fork to flip the feces back and forth. Fortunately, the feces weren't mostly feces. There were some rice stalks and other things. Even so, the three of them couldn't stand it. They had used cloth to cover their mouths and noses. But every time they flipped the feces, the special smell would enter their noses. In the end, the three of them thought of a way, which was to block their noses and only breathe with their mouths. This made them feel much better. The smell was better, but the sight didn't change at all. Looking at the feces in the ground, their feet, and their bodies, they couldn't help but feel disgusted. The three of them had never done this kind of work before. Their actions were not in place, so it would be strange if they didn't rub their bodies. It was better when the weather was cold, but today they didn't know what was going on. It wasn't noon yet, but the weather was hot. The feces looked more dazzling. Every time they retched, the smell would enter their noses from their mouths, making them feel more and more uncomfortable. Finally, it was noon. The three of them looked at the things that were sent to them. They only washed their hands and wiped their faces. Then they gritted their teeth and began to eat. There was no other way. They didn't dare to not eat. No one here prepared water for them to take a bath. If they didn't eat, they would starve. Moreover, they couldn't work less. If they didn't have the strength to work because they didn't eat, they didn't have to go home. They would stay here for a night and see if they could eat the next day. They had already stayed here twice. Originally, they wanted to use their stubbornness to make others yield. In the end, their stubbornness didn't work at all. They didn't care about their lives at all. After knowing this, the three of them could bear it. They looked at the steamed buns in their hands, and then looked at the feces on the other side. The three of them encouraged each other with their eyes, and began to eat vigorously. Who cares about the taste? They had to fill their stomachs first. After they finished eating, the three of them resisted the urge to vomit, and sat next to the feces to rest. This was what they had to do. Either they directly worked, or they had to sit next to the feces if they wanted to rest. Chao Hui rubbed the corner of his mouth with his hand and said to the other two, "Bear with it. It'll be fine after you bear with it. Look at others. Don't they work and eat like us? It's nothing. Moreover, they work a lot and eat a lot. Yes, that's it. If others can do it, so can we." Chao Hui felt that he was lying when he said this, because there were people watching them. If he didn't say this, what else could he say? Could he say bad things about Zhang Zhong? That would be great. It was very likely that he could continue to sleep here at night. The other two understood and nodded. Fan Jianxi said, "Yes, that's it. After working for a day, I feel comfortable all over. Especially after taking a hot bath. This is life. It's much better than before. I think I should thank Lord Zhang. He let me know the suffering of the common people. He also let me know the happiness after working." "Is it suffering or happiness?" Jiang Huanshi asked curiously after hearing this. "Finding joy in suffering. In fact, the happiness I'm talking about is the happiness that comes from knowing the common people's suffering. It's not the common people's suffering that makes me happy. It's the happiness after I understand it. Anyway, that's it. Don't ask. You can't answer it. It's both happiness and happiness. Yes, I have the same feeling. It seems that we should do more work. When we are familiar with it, we can know what the common people are like next time and be able to command them. Yes, next time." Jiang Huanshi said this with a pout. He actually wanted to cry and cry. What was this? Didn't he agree with Zhang Zhong that the three of them would be able to command after getting used to it? Now it was the three of them doing the work. It was the kind of work that was divided into pieces. The three of them had to finish this piece of land within a set time. Then they could command from the side. However, by that time this year's work would be done. Did they have to wait until next time? In other words, they would still be in charge of the dung next time? When Chao Hui saw this scene, he quickly said, "Brother Jiang, we all know that the Lord is good to us. Don't be so touched. What if others misunderstand? Forget it, let's get up and work. These days, I have to wash up a few times when I get home. Otherwise, even if others don't say anything, I won't be able to stand it. Yes, okay, let's work. I won't be touched." In order to not say anything out of line, the three of them could only numb themselves with work at this time. A person who was carrying dung saw the three of them and felt very relieved. He was originally from Ule County and finally saw the three of them doing the same work as him. When he saw the three of them frowning, he wanted to laugh. After thinking about it, he decided to help the three of them. He said to the three of them, "In the end, you can't get used to it at all. You should smell more. If you smell more, you won't be able to feel it. Otherwise, you will suffer every day. When the weather gets hotter, even breathing with your mouth will have a smell." The person shook his head and left. The three of them looked at each other and didn't know whether they should listen to that person or not. "Let's do it for 2 more days. When we can really breathe with our mouth and have a smell, we'll do it. When we're done, we'll take out the stuffing. Anyway, it's the same thing." Chao Hui hesitated for a moment. In the end, he didn't dare to take the stuffing off his nose. The other two people also nodded. Chao Hui worked for a while and stopped to rest. He said to the other two people, "Do you think the house that the Zhang family specially prepared for people who are going to have children is useful? I heard that many things inside are very special. If it's really useful, when my concubine has a child, we'll send it over." Chapter 508. Be prepared. Remember what I said. Don't be afraid. Your hands must be steady. Haven't you two dissected more than 10 corpses? At the critical moment, I will ask someone to take the others away. Then you can do it. Do you understand? Wang Wan stood in front of a female doctor and a female doctor, instructing the two of them word by word. The female doctor appeared to be more mature, and her 30 years of age gave people a sense of security. The female doctor took deep breaths. This was the first time she was facing a challenge. "I know, little girl. I will treat her as a dead person. Even if I have to bleed a lot, I will save the child." The female doctor looked calm. This was also the first time she faced such a situation. As long as there was a difficult birth, she and her assistant would use surgical methods to deal with it. "Okay, take a bath, change clothes, spray alcohol for disinfection, and come in with me." Wang Wan waved her fist at Zhang Xiaobao, who was standing not far away, and took the two people into a nearby room to prepare. There was a pregnant woman who was about to give birth. It was time to test the theory of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The two people were also very nervous, not only because the experiment was related to their mother, but also because they respected other lives. They didn't want to fail this time. In fact, the equipment for blood transfusion had been made. The needle was made by a craftsman and had been distilled and disinfected. The tube for infusion was made of a vine of a plant that they didn't know until now. It was not dangerous for animals to use it. At the same time, it could withstand a short time of distillation. The observation tube was made of a fish float. After drying it and soaking it in alcohol, they could vaguely see the flow rate of the liquid inside. What they couldn't solve was the verification of blood type. It was really difficult for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to confirm this. The two people were very eager to find a way to find out the blood type of others, including their own. When they couldn't confirm this problem, they didn't dare to take risks. For example, it was useless to ask their immediate relatives for blood transfusion. Children might not have the same blood type as their parents. In this case, the two people made some physiological saline. The concentration might not be so good. They could only try to distill the salt as much as possible to extract purer salt. There were still impurities in it. Another preparation was to ask people to take a fast boat to Hainan Island to get coconuts. If possible, they would dig up the coconut trees. Even if the trees died on the way, the coconuts on them could last for a while. The coconuts were not for eating, but for infusion. Although there were other impurities in them, most of them were glucose. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't know how to make glucose, so they had to use this equally dangerous method to replenish the water needed by the human body. At least it was more useful than drinking water in the case of blood loss. The room used as the delivery room had been disinfected over and over again. There were rows of candles and bronze mirrors inside. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were now studying how to put tin foil and mercury film on the transparent glass. The price of glass was high, and it couldn't be directly made into a flat plate. However, this was not a problem for the two of them. How expensive could it be? If there was no flat plate, they would cut it out with a large piece. As long as the craftsman made it, they would be paid 100 strings of coins. They would give any materials they wanted. No matter how much it cost, as long as the two people's business groups could afford it, they would get it. All of this was to make a glass mirror, so that the delivery room would have a shadowless effect for their mother. In order to not let people lack oxygen, the delivery room was built high and big. This way, it didn't matter if there were more candles. Otherwise, people would suffocate to death before waiting for the child to be born. Wang Wan could be considered to have a close experience of the layout of the delivery room. When the three of them came in, the midwife was already prepared. The mother was waiting to deliver the child. The mother's husband also entered the delivery room under Zhang Zhong's notice, and stayed by his wife's side. Originally, this was absolutely not allowed, but Zhang Zhong's reputation was good. When he posted the notice, no one objected. To the people, the good official had not done anything wrong, and everything he did was for the sake of them. The servant girls sent by the inner courtyard were all at the level of 5 stars. Each of them looked very capable. They were in charge of boiling water in another room and used copper basins to hold it. The door of the delivery room was not opened at all. Outside were the family members of the couple inside. This was the woman's first time giving birth, so the family members were more nervous. They sat on chairs specially prepared for them and stared at the door of the delivery room. If her daughter-in-law had not been brought here, her mother-in-law would have personally come to help. But when she saw that her daughter-in-law was taken over by the good official's people, as a mother-in-law, she did not ask to stay by her side. She and her mother-in-law had already seen the lineup set up by the good official. The place they casually saw was something that the two families could not afford even if they used up all their money. They could not afford those few hundred candles, not to mention that there were so many copper mirrors, gauze and dazzling white cotton cloth. When the two families sighed that the good official's family was rich, they were even more grateful to the good official. They did not know that this was an experiment that the young master and young lady of the good official's family had done for their mother. They only thought that the good official valued ordinary people like them. They also knew who those servant girls who were busy in the outer room were. The markings on their bodies already told them that these were the best servant girls in the good official's family. They did things steadily and flawlessly. The young lady and the doctor also personally went over. With such importance, the two families felt a lot more at ease. To be able to let their grandchildren give birth in such a place was also a kind of honor for them. If it were their own family, they would just take out the best things that they could usually give to their daughter-in-law and daughter. They could not compare with the arrangement of the good official at all. Comparing the two conditions, the difference was obvious. As a result, not only the two families were waiting, but also the families of several other pregnant women who were about to give birth. They also wanted to see if their children could be born smoothly in such a situation. Everyone knew that giving birth to a child for the first time was akin to wandering in front of the gates of hell. It was too common for an adult or a child to die. If 7 out of 10 such cases could be born, and both mother and child were safe, then it was God taking care of them. They did not know that this probability was absolutely not allowed by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's requirement was that they could give birth to an average of 100 children, and there could not be 2 cases of death. This probability was actually very low. If it were the two of them at that time, unless there was a special disease, it would be really difficult for them to die with the support of a lot of money. The delivery room used some means of soundproofing. The sound outside could not be transmitted in, and the sound inside could not be transmitted out. Of course, if the sound was too loud, it could still be heard. Zhang Xiaobao stood outside, next to the two families. He found a chair and sat there. At this time, there was nothing for him to do. He had already known the information in advance, including whether the pregnant woman's family members had any diseases before, the pregnant woman's health state, and so on. As time went by, more and more people came to watch the show. Most of them were some old people and women in the family. The men were still working and did not have time to run around. With more people, there were more people talking. If it were not for the soundproofing effect of the house, the noise outside would have been transmitted in. The old people had experienced many things. They were nothing more than chatting about some things, such as which neighbor's daughter-in-law did not make it, which child had an older brother or sister, and so on. As they talked, they also sighed. After all, it had been so many years, and they had long lost the sadness of that time. The women who did not have children yet knew the danger of giving birth. They were also nervous, as if they were also inside. The mother and child had died, the child had died, and the mother had died. They had heard too many things like this, so they could not help but be afraid. However, they had to go through this in their lives after all. In fact, everyone was looking forward to it. They hoped that the place made by the good official could keep the mother and child safe. Some people had already silently muttered words of blessings. Zhang Xiaobao heard them and did not stop them. This was the case in this era. Not only the common people, but also some medical doctors used some curses when treating patients. Zhang Xiaobao felt that this method also had a certain scientific reason. Sometimes, whether a patient could be cured or not depended not only on medical methods, but also on the patient's psychological state. Many people felt that the pain had lessened after taking the medicine, before the medicine took effect. In fact, it was because of psychological reasons. The stronger the desire to survive, the more confidence they had, the greater the chance of survival. The pregnant woman inside could not hear the blessings of others at all, but it did not matter. With a man by her side, the pregnant woman could feel safer and have greater confidence in the child that was about to be born. They waited for 2 hours, but there was no news until now. Zhang Xiaobao began to feel anxious. He was afraid that there was something wrong with the thing that he and Wang Wan had designed. When they went in just now, they said that the amniotic fluid had broken. It had been 2 hours, and this was very exhausting for the pregnant woman's physical strength. Not only Zhang Xiaobao was anxious, but the others were also anxious. Many people were sweating. The only difference was that Zhang Xiaobao's sitting posture and expression did not change. He was still the same as before. After waiting for another half an hour, Zhang Xiaobao ordered a servant in the inner courtyard who was guarding next to him. "Go and call my mother. Send the 4th-rank noble dress to be disinfected first. Go and come back quickly." "Yes, young master." The servant seemed to know that things were not going to be easy, so he ran away without saying another word. Seeing the servant leave, Zhang Xiaobao still sat there calmly without a frown. Others would think that the young master of a good official was confident, but in fact, only Zhang Xiaobao knew that his heart was beating fast. At this time, he was trying his best to control the speed of his heartbeat. He was using his breathing and psychological suggestions to stabilize his heartbeat. This situation should not happen to him, so he had to maintain his stability at all times. In this aspect, he admired the aerospace personnel of those countries the most. They clearly knew that there was danger, and they clearly knew the consequences of failure, and the glory if they succeeded. But when they checked their bodies before boarding the spaceship, the data that their bodies showed was no different from normal. How strong did their mental fortitude need to be to do this? Zhang Xiaobao knew that he still needed to train. Some ace test pilots were like this. When they clearly knew that the spaceship was in an accident, from their tone and operation, there was no fluctuation at all. He did not know how they trained. Even some of the special forces instructors he met abroad did not learn this kind of thing. Perhaps Wang Wan had some understanding of this. After all, she also knew how to fly planes and tanks. She even learned how to operate warships and submarines. Although the time she learned was relatively short, and she did not learn it in the military academy, the Women's Special Operations Team, or the Special Second Division, she still learned it. After all, her family was not ordinary. They casually used their connections to get their children to experience it as a form of entertainment. After this matter was over, he would have to ask Wang Wan more. His ability was only to self-hypnotize himself to avoid the lie detector. When Zhang Xiaobao adjusted his heartbeat by changing his mind, the people around him who knew who he was also calmed down. After all, his expression and posture were too calm, making people who saw him unconsciously filled with confidence in him. Xiaobao, what happened? It did not take long for the Jiang Wang clan to come over. Logically speaking, the Jiang Wang clan should not be so obvious at this time. But her belly was really not small. Others did not know, but the Zhang family knew that the Jiang Wang clan was pregnant with twins this time. The most amazing thing was that Wang Wan's mother was also pregnant with twins. It was also because of this that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan set up this experimental delivery room. It was not that there were no twins here, but the probability of them surviving was too low, less than 1 in 10. Zhang Xiaobao did not want anything to happen to any of his family members. Therefore, Wang Wan tried her best to read all kinds of books to correspond with her own ideas. If she wanted to make a real disinfectant, it would be best to find a way to measure blood type. Seeing the wife of a good official come, the people consciously made way for her. They had no choice but to do so. The Zhang family's guards formed a protective circle around the Jiang Wang clan. Everyone became a target of suspicion in their eyes. This was also arranged by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They did not allow anything to happen to their family members due to negligence. According to Wang Wan's words, if the family members were hurt, it would be an insult to the second special branch and a blasphemy to Xiaobao's intelligence. How could the Jiang Wang clan refuse the arrangement of her son and daughter-in-law? When she arrived, she already knew some things, but she did not understand why her son asked her to come. She did not know how to deliver a child, so she asked this question. "Mother, you're here. In a while, go in and do the disinfection. Then wear your 4th-ranked noble lady's clothes and go inside to comfort the mother. She needs support, the support of faith." When Zhang Xiaobao saw that his mother had come, he immediately stood up from his chair and went to her side and said respectfully, "Oh, mother understands. Cuckoo is inside, right? Mother will go now." The Jiang Wang clan nodded and walked to the disinfected room. She already knew the meaning of faith a few years ago. To put it simply, it was the support of her heart, just like her son and daughter-in-law. As long as the 2 children were not anxious when they encountered something, the family would be relieved. To reach this level in the family, in fact, they relied on the decisions of her son and daughter-in-law. As long as the 2 children did not give up, the family would persevere. Until now, the 2 children had never given up. No matter what difficulties they encountered, they could endure. This was the white jade pillar that held up the sky, and the golden purple beam that supported the sea, as mentioned in the story of her son and daughter-in-law. No one knew that the real power of the Zhang clan and Wang clan was not the restaurant chain, nor the wharf of Little Luoshui, nor so many strange things, nor the husband's official position, let alone their own family. The main reason why the Zhang clan and Wang clan could be so successful was because of the two children who were always ignored by others. As long as the two children were alive, everything else could be lost. This was their faith. As long as the two children were fine, the Zhang clan and Wang clan would not be defeated. While the Jiang Wang clan was thinking about these things, she was also thinking about how to encourage the woman who was about to give birth. This is all I can do. A fourth-ranked noble title should be able to cheer her up. Zhang Xiaobao thought to himself as he watched his mother enter the room. He sat back down in his chair and thought to himself. At this time, the delivery room was working hard. The baby had not been born yet. Originally, part of the baby's head had already come out, but the baby's neck was entangled by the umbilical cord, and part of it was still on the ear. The midwife was still foolishly trying to get the baby out. When Wang Wan saw this, she asked the midwife to push the baby back. The most important thing was that if the umbilical cord really went out, the baby would be strangled to death. It was not that the baby could not breathe. When the baby was just born, it could hold on for a period of time without breathing. What was afraid was that after the baby's mouth and nose came into contact with the outside, the lungs would start to replace the umbilical cord to carry oxygen. Then the umbilical cord would easily cause the baby to die of hypoxia. Gloves! Wang Wan shouted to the doctor. The doctor trembled and brought over a pair of gloves made of sheep's intestines. Wang Wan put on the gloves, took a deep breath, and reached her hand in to untie the umbilical cord. It was the first time she was doing this. It would be a lie to say that she was not nervous, but after all, her psychological quality was very strong. She forced herself to enter the state of mind when she was practicing sniping. Her hand went around the umbilical cord little by little. At this time, she found that the baby was really a little too big. She did not know whether it was because too much nutrition was transmitted from the mother's body, or because the baby's genes were like this. Wang Wan's movements were very careful, mainly because she did not have the relevant experience. She could only take a risk. Whether the baby lived or died depended on luck. She was also afraid that she would put the baby in the wrong position. If the baby's feet came out first, she would have to put them back in. Fortunately, it was Wang Wan. If it were someone else, the midwife and the man guarding the wife would have fought with their lives. How could they put the baby's head back in when part of it was exposed? They did not dare to oppose Wang Wan's identity. First, they trusted her. Second, they were afraid that if they offended Wang Wan, she would kill their whole family. The man let his wife grab his arm all the time. People who had not experienced it would never know how much pain a mother had to endure. Just by looking at the man's arm, one could guess that it had been scratched and bloody. At this moment, the man did not feel any pain at all. The arm that was working was still strong and powerful. Perhaps it was because the pregnant woman usually did a lot of work, so until now, she was still fine. Her eyes were very firm, and when she looked at her husband, she could still smile. At this time, Jiang Wang clan appeared in a gorgeous noble dress. Under the light of the candles, she looked like a fairy in the sky. If only her belly was smaller, it would be more perfect. The man was stunned and did not dare to look directly at her. The pregnant woman's eyes lit up, and she looked very excited. Don't worry, the child will definitely be fine. My master has already found someone to predict that this child will have a bright future. Sister, you can even become a titled noble lady like me. Just bear with it for a while, and it will be over. Back then, it was even more difficult to give birth to Xiaobao. Just look at Xiaobao now and you will know. Jiang Wang clan did not need anyone to teach her. She smiled and lied to the pregnant woman, but her face was so serious that no one doubted her. Her noble dress really played a role. The pregnant woman nodded and took 2 deep breaths. She looked at her husband and actually still had the strength to speak. The wife of the great official said that this baby will have a bright future. I will give birth to him now. The man nodded and secretly looked at Jiang Wang clan again. He was confused by her dress, jewelry, and the great motherly smile. The people outside were also waiting. After another half an hour, a baby's cry with a very strong penetrating force was heard. Some people in the crowd immediately cheered. As the side door was pushed open, Wang Wan came out first. She calmly nodded at Zhang Xiaobao and smiled at the two families. She said, "Mother and child are safe. Congratulations." Other than Zhang Xiaobao, who was still very calm, everyone cheered happily. Wang Wan also calmly walked in front of Zhang Xiaobao. The two of them held hands and left as if nothing had happened. The experiment could be considered a success for now. The rest would depend on the mother's confinement and the child's condition. It turns out that giving birth to a child is so difficult, especially under special circumstances. It is not easy to be a mother. Wang Wan's eyes looked into the distance and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "You don't know? Have you never given birth to a child? You are already 30 years old." Zhang Xiaobao asked with confusion. "I don't have a boyfriend. How could I give birth to a child? You are so capable. Didn't you investigate?" Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao and asked, "I only found a part of your personal situation. The person who took the money didn't know much. In the local police department, there was no useful information in your file." Zhang Xiaobao told the truth. "What about you before? You didn't have a child?" Wang Wan asked again. "Me? I was amazing. The women who were willing to be with me had a master. I changed one every day. Sometimes it was 3. I didn't even give them a title. I don't know how many children I have now. Anyway, I can't remember clearly. There was one day when 10 women were with me. That night. It was 100, right? How can 10 show off your ability? Look at me. Don't hide. Didn't you survive a lie detector test? Someone like you still wants to deceive others? When you sleep at night, you either turn around, lie on your back, or crawl with your limbs open and head tilted. You have learned a lot of things. Tell me, if you are used to hugging women to sleep, why do you sleep in that position? Don't you have any consciousness because you don't sleep?" Before Zhang Xiaobao finished, Wang Wan laughed and said, "Anyway, I have a lot of women. Those women. I understand. I understand your mentality. You are so old. If you say that you don't have a woman, people will laugh at you. You didn't scam people. You didn't manage the construction of schools and roads in the country. You didn't have time to build orphanages and maintain them. You put all your energy into women." "I know." Wang Wan interrupted Zhang Xiaobao again. However, her smile made Zhang Xiaobao feel bitter. You're tuning into the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.